Welcome, everybody, to the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour. I am your first host, Shaymin, and we'll go over what the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour is in a little sec.
Well, you're gonna go over it before we even get to say our fucking names?
Well, you guys get to say your names first.
Fuck the other ones.
Yeah, you guys get to say your names first.
Okay.
Yes.
I am Liam from the depths of broken webcam hell.
And I'm Angelo, locked in my hell dungeon.
Locked in, like, actually pretty solid webcam.
That's a very nice
purgatory.
Not bad.
And then Shaymin at, like, way too nice webcam heaven.
But I have a terrible setup.
A nice gradient.
No, it's not fair though, because I'm literally the video guy, but I don't have the cable that lets me use my camera on my computer.
I have a USB camera.
Yeah,
dude.
it's perfect.
All right. Welcome. All right, we gotta get in the role of this. This is gonna be the Super Shenanigans Variety Hour, a general media podcast. We're gonna talk about a bunch of different things, and the first topic will be Spider-Man movies. It should be the Spider-Man movies.
It should be.
It should be.
It could potentially not be.
Topic, but it depends. It depends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
we can. Generally, we're gonna. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll just go straight to Spider-Man. We just gotta start talking, or else we won't be able to get into it.
We just gotta throw these Spider-Men onto this tier list.
TLDR, we're rusty.
And actually, you know what?
What do you mean, Rusty? This is the first episode. What do you mean?
Yeah,
we never did any more.
Yeah. Liam's right.
Tier list.
This is not season 3.
Yeah. So, the tier list actually kind of starts us off perfectly with the Raimi trilogy. So, do we just want to hop in and start talking about that?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very beloved series.
So, first of all, Spider-Man movies in general.
Spider-Man sucks.
Spider-Man.
I hate Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's such a beloved character.
No, not at all.
Not at all. But
everyone hates Spider-Man.
Don't you read the comics, dumbass? They hate him.
That's true. They do hate him in the comics. But
you stupid.
Because of that, now we're at a point in time where the first Sam Raimi movies, which was basically the introduction of superheroes, modern introduction of superheroes in the film, that doesn't suck. Kind of.
Yeah,
you're gonna. You have to have a couple hedges. It's the dawn of the modern.
Yeah, it's modern superheroes
era of superhero blockbuster movies.
There's a renaissance. Now it's a superhero.
We
movie.
got out of our Batman and Robin, like 1997 or whenever that came out, like dog ass movies and stuff like that. No, we now in this era there was like still a couple stinkers. Like they still put out like the Daredevil movie. Yeah, and like the Catwoman movie and stuff.
And then, like
Electra.
X-Men came out only a couple years before Spider-Man 1. But, it was really like the dawn of superheroes in cinema really kind of popping into our modern age.
Mm-hmm.
Because, even before that, obviously you had all your Batman movies, you had Blade, you had Superman, et cetera, but...
Yeah, I'd argue that Superman and Batman did have like huge cultural impacts for their time and all of that, but
this is different.
The way that like the modern blockbuster works with them, and I don't know, more than just beyond the idea of like legacy and like contributions to our like culture today. It's just I think the Raimi trilogy is in a lot of people's heads, or at least our age demographic.
Yeah.
These are like some of the first.
One of the some like the Golden Goose like perfect representations of it. Like these other movies that come out later to me are always just like, let's see how we make it different from this one that came out before because they covered ground so well.
Yeah, very much so. And like, For me, especially personally, the Raimi trilogy has a very close place in my heart just because I grew up with it. You know, like my 6th birthday party was Spider-Man 3 themed. You know, it's
Dude,
a
that's
series
so
that
cool.
all
Was
three of us
Venom
grew up
there?
with. Dude, no, just black suit Spider-Man.
No.
Just black suit Spider-Man.
So I don't know, like with how that holds up with like Gen Alpha or whatever, like how they feel about the Raimi trilogy, because I'm not in the business of talking to like young children. So I don't really know if that sentiment carries over. I don't know if there are kids who grew up with the Amazing Spider-Man movies and are like, oh no,
They're like, dude, the Spider-Man's great. When we fought Electro, it's like, ugh.
dude, there's this old movie that came out when I was a kid. It's called Spider-Man Homecoming.
Wow, we really are making fun of children.
Yeah, dude, I hate kids. I'm only 21.
Yeah.
And I hate kids.
God. We're getting old.
I teach them.
But yeah, as far as the first one, I guess one thing we could do is set up for like our tier list some ground rules of what we're ranking on. So I'm feeling on 2 metrics we would add to like obviously, Angelo more than most, but me as well, definitely care about like adaptation points, like how good of an adaptation in it. But also in some regards, and I'm gonna make this case a little later, I also think that it's fine for it not to be a great adaptation if the movie still does something cool. Yeah. So I think we'll go both into adaptation credibility and stuff like that versus like how it is just as an actual movie, which I don't know. We can all go into that. So as far as the first one,
yes, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, and I have notes written down here, but I said that Tobey Maguire is like the biggest wet noodle nerd, like Peter Parker, just in general, out of all of them. He's like such a dumb, like frumpy, sad. Like,
he's very likable.
Goon. and there's a charm to it, right? Like when he's chasing after the bus, he's like, "Wait!" This 30-year-old man running after a school bus.
Dude, he's in a cartoon like first episode.
Yeah, like everyone picks on him, everyone fucks with him.
Life sucks for this guy.
Dude, it sucks to be Peter Parker. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tobey Maguire's performance obviously is one thing, is especially with the No Way Home. If you didn't watch this movie, spoiler alert, all 3 of them are in it.
Yeah.
Sorry. So if you clicked on our Spider-Man movie tier list and didn't expect spoilers, sucks.
Yeah.
But a lot of people argue over like different interpretations, and it's definitely, I think, a very even game in a lot of regards because they all do so much different stuff, and Tobey Maguire definitely plays the nerd.
Yes.
To the highest. He is the nerd emoji incarnate.
I don't think he's ever he did it so well in those movies. I physically can't see him as anything else besides that. I don't know if he plays anything else.
Unfortunately, in real life, he is a. I don't know about anymore. I heard he's a better guy, like in modern age. But when this movie was being filmed, apparently he was a total dick ass.
Yeah, he was a dickhead. Joe Manganiello was like, some of the crew guys like offered to like pay him to actually punch Tobey Maguire in their fight scene together by the locker. He said
no because he's based.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to break Spider-Man's nose.
That feels like a evil thing to do.
No, yeah,
it's literally a crime,
dude. Yeah, literally everyone hated Tobey so much. Like the crew members were like, just wallop him, just give him one good smack,
one good one for us.
Joe was like, no thanks, I'm good. I'm gonna go play D&D.
You guys do that.
Tobey is a very endearing Peter Parker for sure, and I think that's where I think a lot of the good qualities of not only this but all 3 of them come from. Where I don't think these movies would have worked if you placed like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man into this like sort of place.
Yeah.
I don't think emotionally it would have hit as hard. These movies are. I have to stop saying these movies because we're only talking about the first one.
Yeah.
The movie. Plot is very like straightforward.
Yeah.
On this and very simple, but like in a good way. They're not overcomplicating it. It's just the Spider-Man origin story that you all know and love, but also Green Goblin is there because they didn't want to have the entire movie be about him fighting, like, I don't know, the guy who killed Uncle Ben.
Enforcers.
Yeah, the enforcers and stuff like that. They wanted it to be like kind of cool because it's a movie.
Yeah. It gives it gives very Ultimate Spider-Man, in a lot of ways. With that Green Goblin being the first, or the first.
The thing about that being funny is, they were just coming out with that. This was like probably the first issue dropped as they were. So this movie came out 2002, right?
You think that was a coincidence?
Yes, 2002.
I'm gonna say I'm not sure, but I would believe on some level for the first one, yes, because of like Ultimate Spider-Man. First off, when it first ever dropped, I doubt everyone in the studio was like, "Oh, dude, this is the new hot piece of Spider-Man media," because it like just dropped.
Yeah.
It was just coming out as they were probably writing this, because I think Ultimate Spider-Man came out in 2000.
Yes, it did come out in 2000.
So by the time they were scripting this, which was either late 2000, early 2001, it probably like was barely started.
Yeah, it was barely a thing, but it's just funny the comparisons that you can make between them.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, speaking of Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe,
Willem Dafoe,
his introduction to showing up with Harry, getting to meet with Peter, and the fact that both him and Peter kind of hit it off at first too. It's like, wow, sir, it's nice to meet you.
No, I can't do FNAF references. I was about to do a whole FNAF song.
You're telling me we've never done that for this?
No, because this is the first episode.
That's true.
We've never done that.
Yeah, we have to save the FNAF songs for later episodes.
Oh god.
Yeah, FNAF song tier list. We rank every FNAF song.
We'll have a poll later on to determine if we should do a FNAF song tier list.
We'll do that.
If we get more than 5.
If we're going more on like performances, I'd say everyone pulls their weight except for I really don't care that much about MJ.
Yeah. MJ's I think that's a write-in problem.
I don't think it's the actress's fault. No. I just think that, like, I don't know. So here's the thing. In film, generally, if the actor is doing a poor job, you can either look at the writer or the director before going into the actor, unless it's some specific circumstance. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd say, like, one reason that you could maybe say her is because everybody else in that movie is like hitting it just right.
Yeah, it's a very cheesy movie. Yeah.
But also, like, again, her role in this movie isn't as strong as, say, like the later love interests in future movies.
Any of the other.
But ones. I really like. There's a reason that they've at this point. Can you hear the sirens back there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No,
Liam's about to get swatted.
I'm going to jail.
Liam's done for.
That's unfixable.
Uncle Ben and Aunt May are so perfectly casted. I know my brother in particular just like can't even bring himself to care about anybody else in the role of Aunt May because he's like, what was her name? I'm gonna. You know what?
You go name
editing, Liam. Bring up her name.
Okay, now say it.
Yeah.
So we can.
Say it.
Yeah.
Say it. Now you have to say it. Future Liam, do this.
Rosemary something.
Yes, it is. It is.
They are
Rosemary something or other. Yeah.
It's something like that.
It's very good for
Rosemary Harris. Let's fucking go.
Ooh, yeah.
They are very genuine and nice people. So it really helps push Peter in the right way.
This also predates, I'd say, or maybe not even predates, because the 2000s, I think, definitely is in the era where like cynicism in media definitely started. But like, I think this very much avoids sort of like the cynical superhero like lens that a lot of media takes now. So it's a very genuine movie.
Yeah.
It's a very corny movie, but like not in a way that's bad.
Yeah, like it feels comic booky, you know, and you want that vibe. It's colorful, everything pops, you know. The characters are nice and bright when you know Green Goblin and Spider-Man meet each other. You're like, oh yeah, you know that's a superhero, that's a supervillain, and yeah, you know, like although some parts may be a little you know corny, it has this genuine heart to it that really makes everything tied together. It's a very hopeful movie.
The only like massive critiques I have is since this is like the first one and came out in 2002, they really had to work on some of those effects. And I am my brother again. He's like a big Sam Raimi fan and loves all the choices he does. There are like some times where I'm just like, I don't like what you did with some of your editing choices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In particular, I know a lot of people like it, but when it just has a random cut in of a Willem Dafoe going like, oh, when he's about to be stabbed by his glider, it's so fucking goofy.
It's so funny.
So fucking, it just takes you out of it. So he's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, Spider-Man does his crazy flip, the glider's coming, and then he's just like, oh.
But this is clearly, like, you know, in a lot of terms, like, the movie that most other superhero origin movies, and especially Spider-Man movies, are trying so hard to live up to. The score, obviously, is fantastic.
So good.
And not even the best one in this trilogy.
Yeah.
The performances, bar Kirsten Dunst, which, again, I think is mostly, like, a writing issue.
Writing thing, yeah.
Are pretty fantastic. Like, it's just a comic book come to life.
Yeah.
I would place it personally, though, in probably a B.
I was thinking either A or B tier. I personally just really love Spider-Man 1 just because Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin like makes it for me. Like he's such a good like villain.
He does it again later.
Yeah, like such a palpable sense of tension, and he's such a big threat. The whole when he bursts in on Aunt May when she's praying, like it's so good.
Dude really chews up that scenery so hard. He chomps it.
He has such a very imposing presence in the movie. He just captures everything. He steals.
I don't know why his costume looks like that, though. I used to know why, because I remember going over like all of the other designs.
I don't dislike the design.
I don't dislike it, but also it's probably because I'm so used to it. I feel like if they dropped that Green Goblin design right now, if they dropped it right now, I think bitches would complain.
But this was also at the time where like they didn't understand superheroes like Hollywood. So they're like, okay, we can do a little bit of cheese, but do we really want this green guy with like really angry eyebrows?
Did you ever editing Liam again? Pull up the test mask. Pull up the test mask because that looked so good, and I kind of wish that were in the movie instead.
Do that now, Angelo.
Shaymin, have you never seen it?
No.
Hold on.
I'll show it to you later. Or Angelo's gonna pull it up so editing Liam doesn't have
Goblin, Spider-Man 1 task map.
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's right there! It's right there! But show it in motion.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh my god.
Whoa, epic! Dude, it's epic.
We're gonna play the audio by accident.
Gets a copyright strike on the boss.
Dude, look, it moves too.
That's pretty cool.
Like his mouth can move. He gets all of this.
Honestly, if they just added the eyes proper.
Yeah, or even like one thing I like about Alex Ross's artwork.
Is it you can see under it?
You can see, like, that the yellow is just a clear lens, and you can see Norman Osborn's eyes underneath. So I think if they did that, that would have been sick as fuck.
They kind of, in a way, do that with his costume.
With the regular,
you can see him under the mouth.
Yeah.
I think that...
What a great...
That facial movement, honestly... Imagine those scenes...
is actually insane.
Imagine those scenes,
terrifying.
But you could see him talk. Because he... Obviously, the mask, he just mumbles through it, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, he has the little, like...
Imagine that, but with Willem Dafoe's facial expressions. Very different movie. That could have been good.
But I feel a B tier because of it's a classic. Most of its performances are pretty strong, but also I think thematically, like visually, auditorily, it does get a lot better with future titles still. So I would put it as a really solid high B.
I can agree to that.
Yeah.
Shaymin?
Yeah.
B tier.
I do think
now for
like
the
impact wise it's higher. Movie wise,
yes, in terms of impact, I think
impact
Spider-Man
may
1,
even be S, honestly.
And also as far as adaptations goes, because we forgot to kind of touch on that a lot. As far as adaptations go, it's probably out of all of them the best one as far as how the actual story goes. It just has like one or two details where it's like, okay, his webbing is organic and stuff, and it's like, okay, whatever.
And
it is funny.
You lose a little bit of that, which is at times negligible. That like original Peter Parker kind of not angst, but he does have a little bit of like a chip on his shoulder, like he's mad, And this Peter Parker, like I said, is just kind of a wet noodle. Like he's just kind of a sad, nerdy guy. So
I would also say, just also as a performance too, he's a great nerd emoji Peter Parker. I will say, as Spider-Man, he does leave me a little weak. He still feels a little wet noodle.
Yeah,
and this is his worst one for that.
I mean,
this is his worst one.
You can argue. We're gonna move on to the second movie and talk about this. Yeah. Never mind.
Dude,
that's so cheesy.
Hell yeah, Toby, you get him.
I would say it takes until like the third one for him to say anything that I even laugh at. Like, just spoiler alert, when he's fighting Sandman and he punches through him, he's like, "Where do these guys keep coming from?"
I do kind of like Spider-Man being a loser.
I do, but fun. It's not something as far as, again,
it's probably not. It's not.
This comes down to interpretation versus adaptation. So as far as interpretation, I do quite like as far as adaptation. He gets out of that wet noodle phase in the comics almost immediately.
Yeah, he started after trauma.
Yeah, as soon as he gets his
stuff
powers,
together.
Has that trauma, he just gets mad and like very, very independent, very much like that quippy. And we'll get to it with Andrew Garfield later, but that's kind of ties into what he does with the character.
All right, moving
which
straight
is one
on
of the things
to
I sort of enjoy.
I'm moving right along to the one that's better.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep up with the time a little. That way we don't go too long.
Alfred Molina is so fucking good as Doc Ock.
Yes.
They always knock it out of the park. They knock it out of the park most of the time with their villains in this trilogy.
This is
almost all the time.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. It's so close.
It really is. It really is.
Alfred Molina, like
probably
that relationship he has with Peter.
Probably the best Spider-Man villain in the cinematic portrayals.
There's a lot of great tragedy behind the character. That hospital scene too is so like Sam Raimi Evil Dead, the nails being dragged across the hospital floor.
I think this movie is shot so much better. It is because first off, the budget is higher because the first one popped the fuck off in theaters. It really popped. It popped off.
Dude,
So they got way higher budget. Sam Raimi, I think, just got a lot more comfortable with the material as far as action set pieces and stuff like that. He had a lot better idea of what to actually do. I think the performance, while Willem Dafoe is a great cornball, I can feel the emotion of Alfred Molina's character way more, and he feels way more tragic.
He's a much more realistic, and he's a much more realistic character, I'd say.
He's so good that he gaslit me into thinking Dr. Octopus in the comic was like
cool. He got cool eventually.
And another thing with adaptation versus like interpretation, like this interpretation of Doc Ock is so like iconic going forward. Like everyone goes, yeah, let's do the mentor student thing with Peter and Ock
instead of him just being some asshole who really fucked up with those arms, and now I got to beat him up.
Yeah, literally. Like it's such a great movie. And like you said, Liam, all the set pieces, all the action set pieces, you know, them fighting on top of that
the train or the tower.
The tower.
That's technically the same action set piece. But...
Yeah, it's the same, I guess, scene. It just carries over into there, but Spider-Man throws some fucking hands in this movie, though. Like he
the train shit out. Is one of
the fight scenes are way better in this movie.
In particular, I think the 2000s was the golden age of fight scenes before like the 2010s came in and went like, all right, so we're gonna cut every quarter second. It's gonna be like all the fucking time.
All the shaky and like always quickly snapping from one person to the other. Like
so, like the choreography really shines through. The camera work is probably perfect for that scene. It makes sure that you always know what's going on. It lets the choreography shine, but also still definitely like, oh my god, I can go on and on about that one scene forever. It's probably one of the best, I think, Hollywood action set pieces ever.
Yeah.
Just ever. Bar none. Not even to bring up the fact that he fights him more than one time.
Yeah.
he fights this guy again. But yeah, and also I feel like as far as Sam Raimi's craft and stuff like that, a lot of the editing choices he makes and a lot of like his pizzazz that he throws in works a lot better in this one.
Yeah. Like you said, he found his groove with this one. Like he really got comfortable with what he was working with.
Nothing takes me out of it. I just go like, oh wow, that was so cool. Like I think we're gonna talk about this sequence again. The way the sequence opens is you see Doc Ock like on the tower and stuff like that, and it like you see it's actually like a reflection refracting through his lens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like that is so cool.
Was it this movie too where they did the newspaper transition, or was that?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that transition was really good with the I think with his logo.
I think so, but also I just watched all these movies in quick succession and can't tell you.
That's fair.
Sure.
There's a lot of newspapers in the movies because of J. Jonah Jameson.
I feel like that's something that
how do we not talk about J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson yet?
Because he hasn't been plot relevant as much, but this
is where he becomes important.
Well, no, in the first one he doesn't sell out Peter, and that's a good scene.
Yes, that's a great scene. He doesn't sell out Peter at all. You know, it shows that even though Jonah's this hard ass, he still has like he still has like this kind of heart of gold underneath.
Well, also just straight up journalistic integrity too.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
One thing is,
he really,
at least in like most interpretations,
he believes in the news.
He believes in what he's saying. He's not like an Alex Jones fake news type. Like he genuinely does believe what he's saying and takes journalism super seriously. And so even when put under the threat of his life, he's like, "Hey man, the pictures come in the mail. Pictures come in the mail. I don't know what you want." But yeah, he's obviously fantastic, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Thematically, this movie is so much better.
Yes, this is... Obviously, Spider-Man 1 kind of had to explain Spider-Man. Now they don't have to in this movie.
It's the first movie syndrome where this is the sequel where they get to take the concept that was laid down and really explore it more. So instead of being like, oh man, great power means great responsibility because I have to break up with my girlfriends.
Yeah, now
it's like, okay, yeah, I'm super poor and I'm failing all my college classes and my best friend hates me and my like science like tutor sort of mentor figure is insane and trying to kill me. Yeah. And also my aunt is poor and my girlfriend broke up with me and I can't hold down a job because I have to be Spider-Man. Like goes way further with the concept and really shows you how he gets to that breaking point. And specifically like the no more, like I'm done with this. And it is a solid chunk of the movie. Like obviously it doesn't take more than like probably like 20 minutes maximum. Mm-hmm. But still, like, you know, this it really explores how his life does get better. And it's not even just like oh man, you know what? I really do miss being Spider-Man. It's like, no, his life improves drastically.
Yeah, his life's better when he's not Spider-Man.
His life is so much better.
That's why the decision is so much.
It's what gives the decision and the heroism so much more weight, and what gives the train scene so much more catharsis.
Yeah,
because he's back and he decided, like, hey, I can't allow things to happen when I have the ability to do what I can do. That's a Tom Holland quote, but
it's that great power comes great responsibility, you know. And you could really tell that, I mean, Uncle Ben was great in the first movie, and it makes sense that he would have such an impact on Peter, especially after his death. And then now, even when he has the opportunity to change his life and make his personal life so much better, like we said, you know, covering ground that we just talked about,
he doesn't take the selfish
he has to rise to the occasion, you know. Like for Spider-Man to win, for New York to be safe, Peter Parker has to lose, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And while he does get the girl in the end as a little bit of a dub, I don't know, just the emotional core of this movie is so strong. Mm-hmm. It is probably the second strongest emotional core out of all of this. I might maybe even argue first, but we'll get to that, I guess, as we continue. But I think this movie's either a high A or an S.
I always think the movie's an S tier. I think it really is just a great representation of Spider-Man. It lays down a lot of great groundwork for even stuff after this movie, but just considering what's involved in this movie, this is like just a great Spider-Man story. You know, like it's just a great adaptation of the character.
It's one of those stories that's so good that it's not brought up in best Spider-Man movies. It's just one of those best Spider-Man stories ever.
Yeah.
Just probably, like, if you had to, like, tell me what, like, I think the best pieces of Spider-Man media ever are, like, it definitely rises within, like, the top 5. It's just so almost perfect representation. Again, the only issue is he's still such a wet fucking noodle in this one.
Yeah.
He's still such a little bitch boy.
Goofy Tobey Maguire.
I mean, which I think works slightly. So again, it still works, but also, like, at this point, he's been Spider-Man for a while, and it really doesn't make sense for him to, like, as far as adaptation points, still be such a doormat.
Yeah.
But that's what the movie was going for. You know, you can't fault it. It's not even really a huge detraction.
Bags at college. Yeah, like he drops his shit and he gets fucking, like, decimated by like 10
Is it this one or is it the next one where he's just getting, like, someone's, like, reflecting light into his face? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Dude, yeah, Peter Parker he gets bullied just by everyone in his life.
Is this what the 2000s were like to live in? Like, were people really, like, this annoying to each other?
Does this not happen to you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shaymin. I'm so sorry.
This is normal.
I've witnessed bullying. No one puts that much effort in our modern age.
When I went to school, yeah, we missed the cutoff for bullying, guys. Yeah, we
missed the bullying golden age. That one
by 1 year.
Yeah.
Fucking
missed it by 1 year.
jackass.
But yeah, bullying used to be such an art, and now look where it is. Like, it's really a shame.
That's what we want to get. That's what we're walking away with.
Anyway, S tier for Spider-Man.
S tier for Spider-Man.
Also, the suit is slightly better.
Yes.
What do you guys think of the Raimi suit?
I like it.
It's iconic. It's a great.
I mean, I think it's weird.
It's a great suit. It is weird, right?
Because it's
like
bumpy.
The raised webbing, the very angular eyes, but it has its own charm. Like it holds up.
I really like it, and sometimes I try to figure out, like, is it because I grew up with it and it's nostalgia,
I think it's the
or
eyes.
like, is it really like pretty good? And it's not my favorite, it's not my favorite. I think one issue that carries over with a lot of these guys, and it's a thing to do with, like, you know how they always have the shell on their face, and like, even the cosplayers do it. I think it makes it look so weird. Like, because if it makes it so flat.
I will say,
there's no like nose like curvature or anything. Like, it's just
because of the amount of
shell
damage that he takes in the movie. That does add a lot to the suit itself.
Yeah,
because the entire movie he is getting his ass kicked.
Also, in Spider-Man 2 and 3, you could definitely tell he's wearing padded muscles. Yeah. In the first movie, he isn't, I don't think. I'm pretty sure in the first movie, he actually
he's
bulked
like
up.
Decently jacked, yeah.
But then in like, the second and third one, he's wearing padded muscles so hard.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it.
You can even see it when they're in the train sequence when they're carrying him, like them, like their fingers indenting into the foam.
Yeah,
no, that's just his muscles. Like they're just grabbing really hard.
Yeah, they're just it's like, dude, grab that Spider-Man now. Just grab him.
Wrong. His muscles are so defined.
Yeah.
But yeah, perfect villain, perfect exploration of the character. Visually gorgeous. The soundtrack is just as good as the first one. The action is great. There's pretty much no serious flaws unless you care about adaptation points, which when it comes to a movie this good, I really don't.
Yeah, it's just such a solid movie that like any little gripes are like,
it's one of those things where I would say even on some level, like, it goes above the material it's adapting. I would argue in a lot of cases. It's one of those where it's definitely
Doc Ock
better.
as a character.
So much better, and I think with a couple characters soon as well. Like I'd also say that definitely happens. Like the Mr. Freeze syndrome from Batman the Animated Series, where he used to like literally be the most shit ass. I'm gonna rob a bank, and then Batman the Animated Series went
Mr. Sub-Zero or whatever his name was.
What if he had trauma?
But then the animated series went, his wife has a horrible disease, and he put her into cryogenic freezing, and it really messed him up. And it's super traumatic, and now everyone was just like, that's like actually so much better.
Yeah.
And that's what happened here.
With Doc Ock, yeah. Because, having read the Lee Ditko stuff, like, Doc Ock's just some, angry, like, nuclear scientist that had the octopus arms, like,
really wants to kiss his aunt.
And he's just like, God damn it, these people are making fun of me. Now I'm a villain. And
now I gotta use my robot arms.
And then he sees Ant-Man, he's like,
I need to marry that old woman.
Hey.
One thing that is pretty funny, people talk about it a lot, is how the Ant-Mays keep getting younger with every like iteration, which I agree is funny, especially because in the comic, yes, she's old, but also she's his aunt, and he's 20. My aunt does not look like a grandma.
Well, I believed Toby's aunt is that We're gonna go.
Tobey Maguire's aunt probably looks like that, so you're right.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire in the first Spider-Man movie looks like he's 5 years older than us, and also a senior in high school. Another thing, too, that's interesting about this that I would say also shows its the lack of Ultimate Spider-Man influence in some regards as compared to the others is that he's out of high school pretty quickly.
Very quick. Yeah.
Which again, for people who aren't massive Spider-Man guys, up until the 2000s, this dude was almost never in high school.
Yeah, like it was pretty shortly into Spider-Man's career as a character. Like he graduated high school. That was like between college and then in college.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Ultimate Spider-Man came out, and that entire series was him in high school at 15 years old, and everyone went, actually, that would relate to the kids so much. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, you can do what you want.
Sure.
Spider-Man 3. That's his song.
Great.
The song
great
is good.
Score.
Yeah.
Once again,
I think this is the best one. I think this one has the best score.
The best movie? You think it's the best movie?
Yeah, it's the best movie. It's the best movie. We have to make a whole new tier for it.
All right, hold on. No. But
something went wrong here.
They fucked up somewhere.
Sam Raimi obviously did not want to do Venom.
So clearly did not want to do Venom, which is why he's really not in the movie until the end.
Yeah, until the very end.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Up until Venom happens, I actually kind of like it.
Yes.
As far as like Black Suit Spider-Man stuff, this is another one where you could definitely point at a lot of people take from this iteration and the animated series iteration a lot more, because when you read the comics, you see the story is a lot more boring than we were originally led to believe. Like as far as like the personality changing and stuff like that. He did not become like an emo boy like that. He just found out it was alive and went, ew!
Because like anything that like they explain in the comics with Peter's whole symbiote arc is that it more so just kind of like made him feel powerful, and it was just kind of him making those decisions rather than the symbiote influencing him or making him go emo mode. Like it was just kind of like this high that he just kind of kept chasing. Meanwhile, in the movies and other adaptations, it's like, no, the suit's evil. It's corrupting his brain
because it touched Deadpool one time.
Did that happen in the
do you remember
Sam
that
Raimi
retcon?
movies?
That was pretty great.
I do remember that retcon. Is that still a thing? I don't think so.
I don't know if it is or not.
Oh my god!
Did you know that, Shaymin? That the reason Venom is like that is because when he landed, he actually touched Deadpool first.
That's so sad.
And
why was his first interaction like the worst person you could possibly pick? I mean, maybe not the worst. I think you could get like Doom or something.
Stupid. It's like literally really so dumb.
But
whatever.
Deadpool's like, ooh.
So here's the thing. I think a lot more of this movie works than people give it credit for. The problem is there's too much for it to work with, to really make a fully cohesive product.
Honestly, like, there's just so much in it. It feels like it should have another movie, or not do as much.
Venom was very much kind of shoehorned in there, just because, like, as it goes, apparently, Avi Arad and all the people at Sony were like, "You gotta do Venom. The kids love Venom. We love Venom." And then Sam Raimi's like,
that guy's from the '90s. I don't care."
Yeah, because Sam Raimi grew up, like he said in some interviews or whatever, like that he grew up reading a lot of the classic Spider-Man stuff, and none of that has Venom. That's all like, your Sandmans, your Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Vulture, which is another character Sam Raimi wanted to do. Even Mysterio.
Until Spider-Man 3 did not go right.
No, Spider-Man 3 went real wrong.
Here's the thing, the emotional core of this movie is the symbiote suit really like twisting how he feels, and a lot of the emotional conflict comes through with that. So I'm curious to see a movie like where the Venom and the symbiote stuff didn't happen, because here's the thing, I actually like the emotional journey through that.
Yeah,
I actually do like it. I think honestly, up until Venom shows up and he's just like kind of mid,
the black suit
honestly
itself
fine.
Is
I don't
cool.
think the black suit itself was fine. In fact, good in a lot of instances. Is it stupid? Absolutely, but like it's definitely.
Well, it gives Peter a chance to like.
Think it's supposed to be stupid. then like I don't know what to tell you. It's very clearly meant to be stupid. That's why
kinda,
everyone around him is like,
what is wrong with
you doing? Yeah,
he's very dorky.
This is what the nerd emoji thinks the Chad looks like.
But I mean, character-wise, it does make a lot of sense for Peter. He always, like, you know, he either had to give up, he has to be nice all the time. Now he gets to break the rules a little bit.
Now he gets to be a Sigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it gives him an excuse to be selfish. You know? It gives him an excuse to do what he really wants to do. And he kind of rocks with it. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh God, I like backhanded Mary Jane in this jazz club.
I abused my girlfriend in public.
Whoops.
I also brushed my hair slightly forward.
There you go, Shaymin. Shaymin's got the black suit now.
You're rocking it. And here's the thing, I actually think too that like heightened emotional intensity and angst works really well and pairs well with the Sandman stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's weird when people are like, I think the movie would be better if they took like all of the Venom and the symbiote suit out, because I'm like, it really is what a lot of the movie is built on. Whether or not Sam Raimi wanted to do it or not, it would have been like an entirely different movie.
It also was sold as that. Look at the freaking cover.
Well, yeah.
It's literally the entire movie's marketing was around the black suit. Like it was
like Sandman was a footnote, which is weird.
Yeah, and Sandman's great. I love that sequence when he gets his powers.
This is also another case of I was gaslit into thinking that this villain was way cooler than he really was.
Yes, yeah, because in the comics, once again, Sandman's just kind of like a goon. He's just a guy, and he's just like, I got sand powers. I'm gonna steal stuff.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry to say, this is like 90% of Spider-Man villains, or villains in general.
Absolutely. Every Stan Lee and Ditko like era Spider-Man villain is exactly that. Yeah,
it just takes them a while to figure out
and wanted to go mess some stuff up. But yeah, Sandman in this movie is really elevated as like a character to be like a lot more of a tragic figure, because of every character who's a villain in the Spider-Man Raimi movies is a tragic villain.
Yeah.
So they literally had to.
And even though like Norman's this kind of almost mustache twirling villain in Spider-Man 1, like, you know, he has this tragic element of like, you know, his company's being taken away from him. Like he's not, you know, he's doing too much of that, and like people are
That's
not having it.
I am safe for human testing.
And then he pumps himself full of the goblin goop and then goes goblin mode.
The pumpkins need to look like grenades. I mean, I fucked the sentence up.
Yeah, you fucked up the bit. It's over.
That's what Goblin said. Done. The Goblin fucked you up.
It's over.
Spider-Man. Topher Grace is Eddie Brock.
Sucks.
Not
sucks.
Great. Not great.
Sucks. The problem with this movie is a lot of the performances are worse. I'm not done with this movie yet.
No, I'm not done with it either. But C tier?
Sure, but let me say a little bit more of why. I think a lot of the elements individually work together great, and some elements I think work even really well together. I think the symbiote emo angst paired with you know, the revelations on the Sandman and his involvement with Uncle Ben's death was great. I think, you know, we could probably take out the bit where he backhands Mary Jane, honestly, but I think that's a little far. But outside of that, I enjoy.
You know, he doesn't need to pull a Hank Pym.
There's a reason this movie has still stayed within like the public consciousness. Like,
yeah,
it is an iconic, goofy movie. It is not as strong as the other two. Harry Osborn,
Gwen Stacy's shoehorned in there.
Gwen Stacy's in there for no good reason.
Captain Stacy's there for like 2 seconds.
2 seconds. Eddie Brock does not need to be in that movie for a lot of it. The only reason he's there is because of Venom has to happen. They don't do a very good job because of in this movie, and I know that like it is still kind of how it happens, but you know, because Eddie Brock is a dick. But like, I don't feel bad for this guy at all.
No,
I do not. He's
like douchebag. He really is just a douchebag version of Peter Parker.
He's a douchebag and gets out douchebagged, and then it's like, God, we gotta kill this guy.
God.
Please kill Spider-Man. Please kill.
Can I kill Spider-Man? I want to kill Spider-Man.
I like the conclusion of Harry Osborn's arc. We didn't talk about it too much, but his arc is like a really good through line throughout the movie. It's pretty much the only arc that exists in all three.
Yeah.
And I think, when divorced from the fact that it's James Franco playing him, he's a fantastic character.
I'd say
his obsession driving him to lunacy and stuff like that, and I feel like it's a lot more believable than another iteration in a lot of regards, or at least better handled. I'll say better handled.
Yeah, it is much better handled. It still isn't like my favorite arc throughout all three, but it's still a.
His suit is weird.
His suit is weird. He's like extreme sports snowboarding. Man.
That's
what
weird.
I was gonna say. He's literally just a sky snowboarder.
So obviously, this is the movie that Raimi wanted to make.
So true.
Yeah, this is that's the core issue. So Venom's cool and it's a cool movie, but we could have had a real conclusion. Yeah,
it's one of those movies where like. There was the movie that Avi Arad wanted to make, and Sam Raimi wanted to make, and like all of these cooks in the kitchen, and it led to a lot of stuff. But I would say this is not the worst offender of that problem.
It isn't, actually.
It's not the worst offender of that problem, and I think a lot of the campy charm is still there. I think some parts of the arcs like still work because the characters are on like a lot of them are still strong. It's just that they've added a lot of characters that are weaker and pull the product down. I think Cassie is a perfectly fair tier for it because of at its core, this is still a fun, enjoyable movie. It just is not as strongly put together.
No, and it's definitely not the worst Spider-Man movie in any regards.
It was considered the worst Spider-Man movie before they started making more Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
there was a lot of cultural backlash with this movie.
They made more, and then that changed.
Yeah, the bar was really lowered after this one.
Like the problem was the bar was so high that a movie being just okay was like, all right, it's
dead. Franchise dead. And
franchise is dead. We have to restart. Leading to
the restart. Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, so this is where I think this is the one that's the most interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the one that I can see all opinions on it at the same time. Simultaneously. I understand where everybody is coming from.
Yeah.
So let's talk about performances again. Andrew Garfield is not a nerd emoji.
No.
He's the exact opposite.
Say, I do remember him being a lot more, like, I still do buy into the fact that he does get bullied a little bit. I don't believe it as much as Tobey Maguire, because if he is literally Four Eyes incarnate.
Yeah, but they also show that he's a nerd.
Andrew Garfield's like a little bit of a pushover as Peter, which I think helps lead into the fact that he's like this bullied nerd type. But he has like a lot of this like 2010s like almost CW-ish like this teenage angst and coolness to him. Like
he has a little bit of hotness added to him.
Yeah,
like
he rides
traditional hotness. Like as far as like the skateboard that doesn't really make sense, and like I don't know.
He looks like he's gonna cry in like every other scene. He always looks like he's like Uncle Bad. He's always so pouty and
I think the choice of having him in high school is so weird in this movie.
I'm neutral on it.
Yeah.
I don't, because here's the thing, in a lot of regards, it doesn't really play into the character that much at all.
No, it doesn't.
It's more just set dressing that he's there, but I would have bought that this is a college-aged guy. Same way I could have, because of Tobey Maguire was in college for the other two movies. But I think they could have just set a lot of the movie in college, but I don't know. they did want their high school origin story, and by this point, Ultimate Spider-Man was very popular.
Yes,
that's true.
And I would say you could
they
see a
definitely
lot
leaned
more of
into
its
it.
DNA in this one.
Yeah.
In a lot of regards, as far as like how involved Oscorp is in this universe.
In his origin. And,
the portrayal of Uncle Ben is a lot closer to how the Ultimate comics works, where like Ultimate Peter Parker is like such a dick to him before he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
like they butt heads. And you can see that in this movie too. Yeah.
Where in like the Raimi one, where he's just like, Uncle Ben, you just don't understand.
He just had like a light argument that day.
And in like the Amazing ones, he's like, "Fuck you, you're not my dad."
Yeah, literally. And also, fuck, this movie starting with the fucking secret spy shit of
actual worst part of the series for me.
Yeah. All the stuff with Peter Parker's parents can go. It doesn't need to be there. And that entire beginning where he's playing hide and seek, and then he's like, "Dad, what's all this?" And it's like, "Oh no, my research papers. We gotta go. I gotta drop you off at your aunts and uncles. We'll be back." And then they never come back.
We'll be back, wink.
We'll be back.
I still find myself believing that Andrew Garfield gets bullied. And is a lot more of just like the kid who gets spurned thing, and that is the direction they go with.
Yeah.
For sure, is that he's a lot more pissed off.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of people have come and said, like, because of the Raimi movies, like, Peter Parker should not be vengeful, and Peter Parker should not be like this dick. And I'm like, well...
No, I like that.
In the comics, he was kind of a dick for a long time.
Yeah, when he got his powers several times in thought balloons, he's like, while getting bullied by Flash and his guys, he's like, "If I could just unleash just a fraction of my power, I can knock Flash's head clean off." Like, he thinks he thinks about murdering his bully. And then he also in Ultimate Spider-Man 2, like, once again, talk about the DNA of that in this. Peter's a prick. He's a dickhead. He's like such an
asshole.
Like, he's an ass. Yeah.
And even like for prolonged periods of time, like even like after he gets the powers and stuff like that, like in the early Liam Ditko run, he's still a bit of a dick for a lot of it. Like he's doing superhero in the first actual issue. He's like, "Oh man, I gotta go fight some bad guys so I can get some reward money."
Yeah, he shows up to the Fantastic Four's Baxter building, beats them up, and goes, "All right, do I get the job?
Where do I sign?
Where do I sign?" They're like, "Dude, get the fuck out! Like, you broke into our house. Leave!"
Oh my god!
So a lot of
dead.
issues people have with his characterization in this movie is that he's definitely naive and stupid, and he's very angry. And I think in this movie, I do not consider that a flaw.
No, this is part of the character.
I think it helps add to his arc. You know, it helps add to his development as a character for sure.
My controversial opinion is that I did kind of like him in this. In this, I'm gonna add the asterisk. In this one, I like him.
Yeah. And then the immediate confidence boost when he's Spider-Man, like the 10,000 quips a second.
Oh, he's a way better Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In this one.
He's funny.
He's the funniest out of all of them for sure. I would say that comes sometimes at a detriment where they go too far in the second one. But in this one, I'm totally fine with it. The only issue I have with his portrayal in this one is that his suit is probably the worst one.
Yeah,
it's grown on me, but yeah.
It's probably the worst one IMO. Unless you really, 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 really hate the CGI on the Tom Holland suit, which is fair.
I hate the weird integrated suit at the end of No Way Home, where he has the big golden logo on just the regular Spider-Man. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Where he becomes Iron Man.
That. Where he's like Iron Spider, but with like the regular Spider-Man design.
With the regular texture, kind of?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell, because the texture on him is so weird in those movies.
He's so smooth.
He's so smooth, which was on purpose.
Just put wrinkles on him. It's fine. You know, like, people like to see that.
Gwen Stacy, how do we feel?
I think her and Peter's relationship
better than MJ's.
I think it's better. I think it goes almost so far in the other direction though, where sometimes I have to look away.
Yeah,
I'm
like it's too
it's
like
a little
cutesy,
raunchy,
lovey-dovey.
It's they're
like,
as
dude, they're like raw making out when he's like has a big gash on his like body,
I'm like,
or he gets fucked up by a lizard.
So
he's like,
hot,
do you want to wait a few minutes?
Kiss me.
Can
it's
we?
Like, yeah, maybe apply more medical attention to him.
I'm not against like a romance. I think
still
romance is very
bleeding.
good, but like.
He smells like a sewer. He's probably infected with all sorts of shit.
Here's the thing. I like it. I think so. Here's the thing. I don't know if like you guys knew. Angela probably knew, but a lot of those scenes are like completely improv.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so they just made out on set for fun.
Is them actually? Because I'm pretty sure they were for real. They were for real dating when
they were.
They were for real dating in real life.
You can tell the chemistry because of that.
And so what they said was just like,
it is a little funny.
just be cute together, guys.
Dude, the
just
funniest thing though about the Raimi movies is that Toby and Kirsten Dunst were dating.
But that doesn't feel like
But you don't feel it.
But you don't feel it at all.
That's because she is written to do nothing in those movies except abuse.
I would say that they don't really have chemistry.
No, I don't think
they're too much.
Yeah, like the way the characters are written, it just doesn't mesh, you know?
And it doesn't help with the fact that she's like a shell of what Mary Jane as a character in that movie is supposed to be, where she's supposed to be a very fun, outgoing, like, you know, funky woman, bro.
I wanted to talk
She's out there having a good time. And then, like, Kirsten Dunst one is she has red hair.
Dude, yeah. Like,
she's like very selfish.
She is very selfish, yeah. And I feel like Gwen Stacy's like weirdly aggressively like too selfless. Like there's no real conflict or anything between her finding out he's Spider-Man. Like it's just all like, okay, Peter, you do you.
Good for you.
I would say it's one of the only things that got better with the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one exact point. Yes. But yeah, I like them together a lot more. I just think there are a couple times where it was like, dude, stop. Cut the cameras already.
Yeah.
Holy. Them just whispering to each other like, oh, well, I would you like to, you know, do stuff?
Dude,
or,
like,
can we go outside? You can go at your house.
If you don't want to do stuff, we could do that. We could do that instead. And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Dude, literally, like, after Peter gets, like, a serious wound, he's like, yeah, let's go out. Let's go web slinging. Let's have fun. I'm like, do you not see the blood there?
Like that.
He is built different, yeah.
He's just got the Riz.
How about you, like, I don't know, do you want to get food or something?
Yeah, dude, like,
can we...
Aunt May is also, like,
Aunt May's very weak.
You get that ultimate Aunt May vibes with her, where she's, like, just kind of overbearing, very, very aggressive. Like, her and Peter do nothing but yell at each other. Like, you don't feel... love,
but without the part where she becomes like the best interpretation of Aunt May IMO, where she actually figures out the secret and then is really supportive and helpful.
Yeah,
because of the series didn't get to that. They didn't get to that part. I wasn't sure whether or not they were trying to hint in this series if she knew or not, because sometimes it definitely felt like they were hinting at that.
The last scene feels like that.
Definitely didn't. It didn't feel like that at all. So I'm not sure if they knew.
The last scene, at the end of the movie, right after the whole stuff with Oscorp and like Peter comes back all beaten up, and he comes in with the eggs because you call back to earlier in the movie. She's like, oh my god, Peter! And she's like looking at him.
I just say it like lovers.
She does.
Oh my god, Peter! Peter! No, but like she's just like,
ooh, I gotta let my dog
oh my god, are you okay? And there, like, you see like a moment where she like looks at him and like for a little too long, and I'm like, is she piecing it together? Like,
well, also in the second one, after he has his no way home moment, she's like, man. Seems like they could really use that spider guy, huh? Wink.
Yeah, there's a lot
and also there's so many moments where Spider-Man news happens on the TV, and then he gets pissed and turns the TV off, and it's like, and he keeps coming up in like with wounds and shit like that. It's like, you gotta figure it out.
The Amazing Spider-Man 1 does such a honestly poor job in having Peter hide his identity, because any conversation, like the entire dinner scene with Captain Stacy as well, where he's like arguing, it's like, no, Spider-Man's a hero, and then he's a vigilante. He's a vigilante bad boy.
With no social awareness that this is your girlfriend's dad, chief of police.
Dude, they just straight up
like, shut up. Dude, just don't even share your opinion. IMO. Like, if you don't agree,
would have been such a better scene with the dramatic irony of it, where we know Peter's Spider-Man and they're all talking and he just stays quiet. Like,
you don't even have to agree. You don't even have to pretend to agree. You can just like not be so argumentative in that.
That would be really cool. And then maybe like Gwen starts shit talking Spider-Man.
yeah. Then Peter's like stuck in this
Peter's
situation
like,
where he's like, oh man, like, should I reveal who I am to her? You know.
Now the thing is, also Captain Stacy was completely right with every single thing he said. Which also made that was where some of the dramatic thing came from, and also like I do kind of read into that scene just being Peter Parker coping. He wants to help people, and then he asks like, Lamau, who does he help? He just assaults a bunch of guys who look the same. He's helped literally nobody, and he's like,
and that really,
he's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then that helps tie into the like one of the scenes following that, where he does go to the bridge with when the lizard's like tearing shit up.
Speaking of,
the lizards in this movie.
Yeah, so
you spend so much, literally, like nothing happens with the lizard until like maybe
halfway
even
through the movie,
a little bit more than halfway through. Like 55% of the way through the movie is when the lizard stuff happens.
And you want to know the worst part? Up until he becomes the lizard, I really liked it. I was really into the Kurt Connors shit, and then he became the lizard,
and he became like gross.
I'm gonna turn everybody into a lizard.
Yeah, he's like
that's just his motivation.
Perfect. And it's like, dude, that is such a massive jump.
Yeah, it really kills his motivation. It really kills like any sympathy we kind of have for him too, because he just does become this mustache twirling lizard man by the end.
He could have very easily kept the same motivation. First off, could have kept up being a villain through the eyes of the public through sabotaging Oscorp stuff, because if he knows that Oscorp,
I don't know why he
evil,
just went out and just started destroying everything. Because he made that choice.
Because the writing isn't that good in this one.
Yeah.
in compared to like
this is where it starts to show how weak it is.
The motivations of every character is not entirely well thought out. So the problem with Kurt Connors is very driven to get this, genetics formula working with cross-species genetics. Cross-species genetics. 4 eyes.
Yeah, there's
Peter reading one article about him before coming to the internship so he could look like a smartass.
Yeah.
But
that's what you would do if you went to Oscorp.
I'm surprised none of those other really smart internship kids read one article about this guy before going to meet him. But Lamau, I dropped something. His motivation is like, I want to do this not only because of it is my actual job for real.
Yeah.
And I'm under a lot of like corporate pressure, but also, I want to make the world a better place, and I feel like using these abilities, like, adding this cross-species genetic stuff to my DNA will help people in the long run. And what they could have done is could have had him sabotage Oscorp and it be a misunderstanding because the public doesn't know how evil Oscorp is, and that they experiment on like veterans. We'll just go to a veterans
Oscorp
hospital.
Is what? So evil in this movie?
Dude,
like,
they're like
obnoxiously evil.
They're one step away from Umbrella Corporation.
Pretty obnoxious. Dude, no, they are Umbrella Corporation. What do you mean? They literally are.
Instead of lizards, and it's not zombies.
Instead of zombies, it's lizard.
It's lizard and electricity, guys.
Yeah. And goblins.
Man,
what? And genetic goblin disease.
Can you believe that Norman funds this shit?
Yes.
This entire movie they set up like, oh, Norman Osborn is dying. We need to come up with a cure. Norman Osborn's dying. They hide his face when he first goes into Oscorp 2.
Yeah.
Like, big CG hologram Norman.
Because if he's gonna die. from undisclosed fictional disease. But after he becomes the lizard back on track, his plan becomes, I gotta turn everyone into lizards because of we are the superior lizard race. And it's like, well, you could have been sabotaging Oscorp. That could have been like misunderstanding that people like the general public wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And you could have still been doing this lizard spreading thing by like maybe taking people who are sick or injured and converting them because of you think it would be better off for them, and that would add a lot more like moral grayness and conflict instead of like lizards!
Yeah, he just I feel like the grand plan of him turning everybody into a lizard isn't the worst plan ever. He just needs to like build that up.
And
he needs to have a reason for it before he does.
Yeah, yes. And
his reason is he's a lizard, so he wants other people to be lizards.
Yeah.
Also, he looks stupid. Can we say that?
And they do this. Yeah, he does.
Looks so bad.
Like they do.
Every time they throw a lab coat on him, they take it away. They take it away from me.
Well, also the fact that they give him like a mostly human face too, which doesn't make any sense because they don't even use it to like emote very much.
He's not even that scaly.
But the thing is too.
Slimy.
I actually forgot what I was going to say. You guys fucked me up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should feel bad. You're banned from the podcast. Oh, I remembered. What they do is they have like, the voices in his head, which is what they do with every single villain in this series other than the Rhino for some reason. Is they just go, the voices. Yeah. They do it with the Lizard. They do it with Electro. I don't remember if they do it with Green Goblin or not, but the voices might just be him talking to himself in the mirror like, destroy Spider-Man, he's a fraud!
You think if he got medicated, none of this would have happened.
But
was that because of the lizard virus, or did he just have
that? Out the win. We'll get to that with the next movie, but he sucks. Captain Stacy is, I think, one of the greatest parts of the movie. Adds a lot of conflict. I think that he's
the real villain of the movie.
Peter handles it. Handles it. I think they handle this archetype better though in Homecoming.
They do much better.
Yeah.
But his death actually does leave an impact, and actually is probably the best part of the next movie is the ramifications of that death. The fights in this movie are pretty good.
They're pretty cool, yeah. You get a really flippy dippy, like very acrobatic Spider-Man. He's very spidery. Like the way he crawls on walls too. Like he does this weird little shimmy. Like he's
there's a scene where he wraps up the lizard by crawling around him like a spider.
Yeah.
And I'd
he
say
does all this spidery shit.
This movie is generally pretty.
Yes.
I do think
there's some odd CG and special effects moments.
There are, but I think in general this movie looks pretty good. I think it mostly functions narratively. I think the main emotional core works. The major dramatic question of can Peter Parker really become a hero and like overcome his own like selfish asshole impulses and become a better person. I think the major dramatic question of this movie is solid and does have a solid emotional answer.
But
it's more just like other details and things leading up to it and other character motivations and stuff aren't quite there, leading it to also be a C tier.
Yes.
I think C tier is good for it. I feel like this one had a lot of checklists they wanted to fill to be like the Raimi movies, and ultimately fell into that trap. Like there's that.
I would say in a lot of ways
they also tried to be different.
It kind of felt the opposite, where like it felt like, all right, so the Raimi movies did this, so we got to just do this other thing.
But there's a scene at the end of the movie where he has to swing through the city, and he can't just swing on the buildings. So some random New York construction dude.
So New York has to unite.
So they have so many cranes
New York
in New York in that one specific street, and they can perfectly swing across it. Dude, and they all know how to do that.
The lines in this movie are sometimes
they got overtime for it.
One thing that's weird about this movie
they did get overtime for it.
Is that it's simultaneously is taking itself very seriously, but
and not
also
at all.
having really corny moments
Yeah.
that are like equally as corny, and that does lead to, I think, a bit of a tonal whiplash.
Yeah, it doesn't really like mesh well, and the super gritty, serious, like like Spider-Man on the hunt for his uncle's killer, and then the lizard, and then
there's some like really bad scene.
You're getting paid all my
The
time.
reason
Let's
that I
fill up
said
all
this
these
was in
crates."
particular that part where like he's been shot. He's climbing up the building, and the newscaster's like, Spider-Man is making his way to Oscorp, but it doesn't seem like he's gonna make it. And it's like, why did you say it like that?
But it doesn't seem like he's gonna make it.
It doesn't look like he's gonna make it. Like, what?
He's a football
His
commentator.
art looking good.
Like a sports announcer.
I don't think he's gonna
That's the
make
only
it.
reporter they could get for that night. Everyone else is
Dude.
busy.
Why'd you say it?
Fucking.
He's injured, and it's unclear whether or not
Hey, lizard, he's right over there.
The cops suck in this movie, by the way.
Dude, the
Yeah.
police are so bad.
I
Do you
think
like
the
the scene
amount of
where he
MC
says "Don't
Streets,
shoot" and he
too.
shoots Spider-Man?
Shoots
Just
anyone
one
like
of the
a ball.
guys.
And hits. The only bullet that ever lands in this entire
And you know
movie.
what? Like,
Yeah.
you think he still kept his job?
2 weeks
I
paid
hope he
leave.
got turned into a
2
lizard.
weeks paid leave. Ultimately, this movie is a solid interpretation with a lot that I do like, but it doesn't mesh as well as the first two Raimi movies.
Not
for
all
sure.
the pieces necessarily click, and there's a lot of dangling threads, a lot of once again
On purpose.
on purpose for sure. But it's all just so weird and just distracting from the central core of this movie. All the stuff with Richard Parker, Peter's dad. It
doesn't need to be in this fucking movie,
It
and it's
doesn't need
way
to be
worse
there.
with the next one.
Yes, so much worse.
Speaking of the next one, probably the worst
suit's
one on
great.
this list. The suit's great. That's pretty much. It's pretty sometimes. It's really gorgeous.
It's really pretty sometimes.
It's really gorgeous. Goes to the absolute bottom though. I had to turn this movie off halfway through.
It's a hard sit through just because like there's stuff about it that I like, but it's entirely outweighed by all of the issues with
This movie feels so much longer than the first one, but it's only like 10 minutes longer.
Yeah.
But it feels like twice the length somehow. The pacing in this movie is terrible.
The two villains that you have in this movie don't have anything to do with each other, but then just get slammed together by the end.
So I'm going to actually talk about the villains later, but I do have sort of like takes to have on them.
This is the.
Don't worry, I have takes.
Like, this is the point in time with Spider-Man as a character. We've had him for a while. We have to fuck it up now. Because the corporate shit has to add. They just want a movie.
You think Spider-Man 3 was bad with all the shit they try to cram in?
This movie is so much
worse.
This movie is so much.
There's so much advertising.
First off, I just like to say they saw the Dark Knight Rises came out 2 years before this movie, and they saw that plane action sequence opening. And
so they
said,
did that.
We gotta do that. We gotta do that.
We gotta do that.
We gotta do that, but worse.
Yeah, with Peter Parker's parents.
Why?
They do the like secret spy bullshit almost.
They do.
That I hate.
Which is the thing that like in the comics it does happen, but
yes, but it's
that's a wild.
Everyone ignores it because of everyone hates it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Richard and Mary Parker were actually SHIELD agents. Cool. Let's not go any further with that.
Shout out to the deleted scene where it was deleted, right? Because when I watched on Disney Plus, it did not have the scene. But where he's at Gwen Stacy's grave, and then his dad shows up and is just like, "Hey, I've actually been alive this whole time." What?
And then Peter Parker's like, "Where were you?" Like he like flips his shit. He's like,
"Good question."
Like, why?
No, I love.
It's a good thing they cut that scene.
I'm glad they got that reaction out of Peter at least.
Yeah.
I'd kill him.
So here's the thing. This movie has a lot going on.
Yeah.
It has so much going on. And it leads to some horrible pacing.
They make a lot of bad decisions.
Really horrible pacing. So
the weird Rhino stuff at the beginning with
So the Rhino doesn't need to be in this fucking movie at all.
No.
It just doesn't have to be here at all. And for the record, that scene is what I was referring to when it said, like, yeah, he's a really quippy, funny guy. Yeah, but eventually they go a little too... Like, 50 people die in that scene because he couldn't just pull him out of the car. Like, you know, like in the Marvel Spider-Man, like, PlayStation games, you see, like, a car on the run. You know what you do? You web on top of it, you web the guys in the back, steal their guns, pull them out, and then you pull out the driver and stop the car with your webs and still say the jokes while you're doing it. In this one, he just, like, starts doing an improv sesh as he rams into a bus.
Yeah, he's practicing his entire stand-up routine. Like, he's practicing his set on the Rhino while people are dying in the background.
And he keeps going like, dude, I'm late. I already told you. Okay, then do something. He's not going to be like, oh, you're late. Sorry, let me just go into park real quick.
He stops the...
Hit him!
What you got, Spider-Man? A doctor's appointment? Yeah, so do I.
Then do something. So do I. Then stop him and drop you off. He shot like 2 bullets at you. This is not an impossible situation.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really bad scene.
Yeah.
It's legitimately horrendous.
It's one of the worst scenes in the movie, actually.
It's like, so I actually have a bit of an issue with this where I know everyone really loves the scene, but you know in the Batman during the Batmobile chase scene, I have the same issue.
Or he just kills people.
So much collateral damage and people dying is happening. And if this happened in the first movie, I'd go, okay. Because in the first movie, Peter is really stupid and naive because he's just starting out, and then he learns his lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this movie is him making so the problem with
same
this
mistake
movie is that he is just everything is his fault in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every single conflict, bar like 1 or 2 things with like Oscorp being like, yeah, we're an evil company for real, is caused by Peter Parker doing something so ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
He makes bad decisions.
Almost
it's an
every
idiot plot.
Problem in this, I'd say the only thing that was not really his fault is when Electro gets shot at and he's like, all right, I'm evil now for sure. Not his fault. He did say like, all right, guys, like police officers, we're gonna have to chill. I think I could talk this out, and then they just didn't listen.
Dude, but the police officers they cause so many problems in these movies. It is so funny. They are like comedically bad. They're 1 step away from stormtroopers. We
also live in a universe where they do not clear the area ever.
They don't clear the area. They just shoot anything that moves.
Just like real police for real. They're just like real police for real. But they let so many civilians just watch shit happen. And dude, I know that this technically the only time this happened in the Raimi trilogy is Spider-Man 3, which was equally stupid in that one too, where everyone crowds around the final battle for some reason.
Yeah, everyone's looking up at this construction yard.
But also everyone knows that movie's a cartoon.
Yeah.
The suspension of disbelief for the Raimi movies is so much higher because they already preset that this world is goofy as hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
This movie simultaneously wants to take it super seriously. And then they have like 8 billion cops chasing the Rhino, and also every time a fight happens, they just have it like a WWE match of people around, like, oh, dude, when the Electro scene happens, oh, you Electro freak, you freaking loser, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Dude,
this is like a cartoon.
This is negotiation.
This movie's, once again, so much tonal whiplash to the point where I think it is worse than Amazing Spider-Man 1.
By
metric ton.
They just kind of didn't know what they wanted. Yeah. He is.
Andrew Garfield's so much worse in this one.
This one's so much more confused. Like, I think once again it's a Spider-Man 3 situation of too many cooks in the kitchen, not enough real creative focus, not a true direction that they wanted to go. Just so much shit being crammed in here, especially with like towards the very, very end with the villain hallway.
The villain room. Peter's issues in this movie is just feeling lost. But the problem is almost every single problem he has is self-fulfilling. So he wants to date Gwen but can't because he promised George Stacy, I won't date your daughter because she'll be in danger.
And then he sees ghosts everywhere.
And then struggles with it. And then they get back together, but he allows her to be in the fight, and then she dies. Ah! No way! Yeah. No way!
Wait.
He learned his lesson, guys.
Again. Like your fault. Sorry.
Yeah, if you took a little bit of extra precaution, dude.
Like
they seem to really want it. It seems like they really wanted.
Green Goblin is in this movie is your fault. Harry's major two conflicts are he is in conflict with the other top brass at Oscorp who are so evil. They are so evil, and they want to be evil without him because he's just a little angsty 20-year-old shithead. Who has morals and stuff like that somewhat. And he's also dying. Norman Osborn died of his shit-ass goblin disease. And he's like, I'm going to die, even though Norman died in his 50s or whatever, his 50s or 60s. But Harry's like, I'm going to die in 2 months. Somehow
it's quicker than me. I'm gonna super goblin out.
I'm gonna super goblin. He's like, I need your blood, Spider-Man. I need your blood. And he's like, nah.
And because Peter's so selfish. Because what was it? His thing's like, I don't want him to know my identity because of my blood.
Here's the thing. What it is he wants to avoid two things. He wants to, first off, one of his excuses is that it might just kill him, which Harry rightfully retorts, I'm dying. Can I try it? I can't be more dead.
Yeah.
That's literally what he says. He's like, I can't die more. That doesn't make sense. And he also wants to avoid a lizard situation. But also, this guy is in charge of the lizard company. So if you don't give him the safer thing, he's going to go out and try a different thing, which is what he does. Mm-hmm. And he becomes a Green Goblin. And here's the thing. It probably wouldn't have worked in universe. It does seem like what they're hinting at, that because of Peter's dad was the one who developed the stuff. The only reason it didn't kill Peter is because of Peter has his father's genetics, and his father's genetics is what made the spider stuff work. So it probably wouldn't have worked on Harry.
Yeah.
But the decision to just be nah, we got to see about it later though. What are you going to see? They don't show him ever testing his own blood on anything else or anything. He could have at least just been like, hey, I'm going to work with you on this, but I don't want to try it on you first.
Yeah. It could have been he worked with him, and then, you have your typical Spider-Man lab accident happen, and then Harry goblins out because of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be Peter
doesn't
resisting
make the choice
the whole time
to help.
So my hot villain take is that literally the villains are just so right for this with everything they do. They're so correct.
I mean, listen.
They're so right.
You get
Harry
dropped
Osborn
into...
wants revenge on Spider-Man and Oscorp because of Oscorp kicked him out.
Yeah.
By framing crimes on him, and Spider-Man left him to die. So he's like, I'm gonna fuck shit up because for these people because of they pretty much sentenced me to die. He's so right for that. He's so valid and real. And Electro's like, I want to take the city's power because everyone bullied me. Even when I had superpowers, everyone treated me like a piece of shit and locked me away. He's so right for that. No. He's so real. He's so real.
He's like, you're gonna help me? You're gonna help me? You're gonna help me? And then nobody helps him.
They get together is they literally become quote unquote friends because they're both we both got screwed so hard by these same people, and that's their thematic pairing. is they're both two people who got thrown away by Oscorp and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Is their thematic tie together? And here's the thing: I think it works. They were abandoned. The problem is that they are so. It's the opposite of like Topher Grace Venom, where they're so right.
Yeah,
they're so right to do what they're doing.
They're not the bad guys.
Like, well, they are because they're murdering people. But like,
that's the morally dubious thing about them. They're killing people.
And here's the thing: up until Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn did not kill anybody who didn't deserve it.
That's true.
And same as I don't think Electro didn't kill anybody until he got to Spider-Man, where like it wasn't like he didn't deserve it. He attacked some people in the Times Square scene because of he got shot at. Fair.
That was self-defense.
Fair and valid. He killed Oscorp people because they're Oscorp people. Fair.
Twas revenge.
Until he's like, I'm gonna hold all of New York City hostage. Where it's like, you know what?
I would bad.
Too. I would too, though.
Listen, everybody's screwing with him. You've got nothing else.
And
to do.
the thing that's like, they make Oscorp so evil that like, it doesn't help. It just doesn't help the movie's case that they're trying to make. You know, they're
because they're so right to do this. And that's my hot take.
Yeah,
is that other than the Rhino, I don't fuck with how they are performed, but from an actual motivation standpoint, I actually kind of fuck with it a little.
Yeah,
I fuck with their motivations. I just think their performances are ass.
Yeah. Also, they look like shit.
Jamie Foxx's Electro is like supposed to be like Ultimate Electro,
so
but the problem is like I don't know, like they didn't really do it very good.
No, it looks shit.
No. It looks bad.
It looks really bad.
It does fix his teeth.
It does fix his teeth. So stupid.
No, I think
no, it makes perfect sense. It fixed his arm.
It makes him beautiful.
It fixed the lizard's arm, so it fixed that guy's teeth when he became electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though the reason it
because he was bitten by electric eels.
Regrow limbs.
Well, no,
so, electric eels have good dental hygiene, so
they do. They have great teeth. They have great teeth.
Electric eels.
I mean, granted, the teeth is a little sharper.
He's literally just up until he becomes Electro. He's such a soy jack. He's the soy jack archetype that like happens in like 80s and 90s superhero movies, like Jim Carrey's Riddler. It's that trope where it's like, oh, this glasses wearing nerd. Oh, but he gets powers, and now he's gonna strike back against everyone. It's like it's a really overdone trope.
Yeah.
And they did not play with it at all.
At all, no. They
did not play with it in any interesting or unique way whatsoever.
The villains in this movie is that none of them are fun. None of them have...
They're not inspired, particularly.
Yeah,
and Dane DeHaan sucks ass in this movie. He's just going like this the whole time, like...
He's like, oh, I'm the Goblin. Oh, I'm Goblin out.
Oh, dude. He's literally just like... You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
I love the scene where he just screams.
Fair reaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as far as the narrative threads, there's so many narrative threads. There's so many. There's Peter's parents' narrative thread. There's Gwen Stacy narrative thread. There's the Goblin narrative thread. There's Electro narrative thread. There's
Rhino comes back at
there's
the end.
Rhino narrative thread. And then they leave a narrative thread of whoever the fuck that dude is. Leading Harry.
Oscorp basement.
And they're gonna set up the Sinister Six movie that never happened because this movie's terrible and did horribly. Yeah. And it's like, dude.
And then the Sony leaks happened, and then they canned the third one so hard.
Good.
Because all of their ideas got leaked.
Mm-hmm. None of them were good.
This is not a good movie. It is even more in the aspect of like where Spider-Man 3 has good elements, but they don't mesh well together. Amazing Spider-Man has good elements, but they don't always mesh together. This movie is like one or two good elements. Like the Gwen Stacy's characterization in this I actually really love.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it does throw in that bit, especially that seems like, you know what, I break up with you because you are being so annoying and really just like,
this is too much for me.
It is unhealthy. The way you are treating this relationship is unhealthy to me. I'm
gonna go get a therapist.
And the fact that she's trying to have her own life and stuff like that and trying to move on, I like that. I like the basic idea of the motivations of the villains. And then everything... Yeah, it did take a minute. Everything else about this movie does not... And it's pretty.
Fucking
it's probably
annoying.
The prettiest Spider-Man movie.
It is honestly probably the most gorgeous CGI in any Spider-Man movie.
He looks fantastic in this. And you know what? The action scenes are pretty good.
Yeah.
Why is there a clock tower in this electric plant? Don't know.
I don't know, but
we need to have the time is up symbolism.
The web coming down and it looks like a hand reaching out. It's all
it's a good scene. It's a good scene, but it also just like
the impact of it is lessened by just how much of a mess the rest of the movie is. Like you're just so drained by that point that you're like, oh, no, Gwen.
I'm also going to make this argument that some people have said, well, of course they're going to kill Gwen Stacy. It's an adaptation of the death of Gwen Stacy. Yeah. But the idea like, well, we know she dies in the book, and the reason it was shocking back then is because you didn't do that, but now you can. But I would make the argument that in movies and adaptations of Spider-Man, name an adaptation of Spider-Man in like other media, like shows or movies outside of this one, prior to this one, that adapted Death of Gwen Stacy. It was also sort of like a thing to me at the time. I remember when this movie came out, I was like, are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Because they don't have to. And Hollywood is full of cowards.
Yeah.
So it didn't make me sad, but it wasn't in my head at the time. And again, I was a kid. So maybe that has something to do with it too. But it was like, up until then, it hadn't really... Correct me if I'm wrong, I guess, in the comments, if anyone watches this. If they ever adapted it in another form of media. But I don't remember it happening, them killing Gwen Stacy in anything outside of the original comics.
The closest thing is the 90s Spider-Man cartoon with what they do with Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. But even then, that's, like, so weird, because they, like, drop her off a bridge... And then she comes back, but then it's like a Hydro Man water clone, and then that one dies, and then it's like
but she's also out there somewhere.
Yeah, but she's out there somewhere. You know, like that's the closest you get besides this movie.
Yeah, so I would argue that while not exactly as shocking, and it definitely didn't hit as hard, I still think it was a surprise at the time because of
time, sure.
Because of, you know, it wasn't clear whether or not Hollywood had the balls to do it now.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. It's not a very good movie. It's paced horribly. Most of the writing is so confused. A lot of the issues are Peter Parker's fault. And the movie, unlike the first one, doesn't treat it, I think, as much as Peter Parker's fault. Where it's a lot more just like, oh, dude... Doesn't this suck to see happen to your hero? And it's like, well, yeah. Well, if he just didn't do that,
if he made better decisions,
he doesn't. He doesn't have a Gwen Stacy to be like, or not a Gwen, Captain Stacy to be like, this is what you should do instead.
Yeah.
Bad movie, D tier.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we
go. I don't like it. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Never mind. Do you have anything to say?
What?
You were about to say something. I interrupted with Homecoming. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
For me or Shaymin?
You, but either one of you can have any closing thoughts.
I mean,
any closing thoughts on
my closing thoughts on this movie are that it has haunted me for years how bad it is, and it still is.
Yeah, it's the first movie where I left the theater going, wow, that was bad.
This movie annoys me every time.
I liked the first one in theaters. I remember coming out of Amazing Spider-Man liking it.
I like Amazing Spider-Man more in retrospect.
In retrospect, I definitely like it more. I like Amazing Spider-Man. I was surprised.
I like the movie.
Even though it's in C tier, I enjoyed this movie and don't consider it necessarily bad. Just not as good as the first two Raimi movies.
That's really
in terms, and obviously for this tier list, we're just ranking these next to each other. You know how they stack up together.
I'd say the Amazing Spider-Man is still like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man is still fun. You know, like
it's just Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just such a stark difference between the two.
It is incredibly bad.
Spider-Man Homecoming, the movie that people are still so annoying about.
Yeah. I think the movie's fine. I think people are just like too annoying about it.
So
I do have issues with it, but yeah, go ahead.
I like Tom Holland, but like fuck it. I like his performance. I like it.
That. Yeah. He's
I think the fact that this is a lower stakes movie is not a problem for this one. I don't see early Spider-Man adventures being this low stakes as a flaw. Especially because of it is supposed to be an early point in the timeline. Again, like all the other movies and stuff like that. He's in high school and stuff like that. He's starting out, but this one really dives into the high school as a setting a lot more.
Yeah.
That is utilized
more of a
so much more.
Supporting cast for sure.
A
lot of the plot is a lot of vehicles for the plot to move forward is presented within the school setting as well, with the field trip, with
Homecoming.
Liz.
This is the best high school Spider-Man. High school.
I'd say like this is the adaptation that best utilizes the high school setting for sure.
I would even argue it's really the only one that even utilizes it
at all.
Outside of it just being
it's there. It's there in all of them.
It is there in Spider-Man 1 and The Amazing Spider-Man.
He barely goes to school in the Raimi trilogy at all.
Yeah.
Like, even when he's in college, that's not really utilized other than the fact that he talks to Kurt Connors in that movie.
I mean, usually the only thing that happens in school is, like, he either sucks at it or gets bullied.
So the main dramatic question of this is, can Peter Parker become an independent hero? And a lot of people have issue with that. Because of, again, traditionally, Peter Parker was not, like, considered like an apprentice figure to other characters. This more of like a MCU iteration. Because of this movie, it was like people are so annoyed by the fucking adaptations of Spider-Man's origin story. We're just gonna skip that shit. Which, for the record, I think is based.
Great move.
I think that is a good idea.
I think it's so awesome.
Best part of the movie is that it doesn't do that.
Is that it's not Spider-Man 1 or the Amazing Spider-Man again. They just no. We're gonna skip forward a little bit.
They had a footnote of an origin story in Civil War. I think it's kind of hard to talk about Spider-Man in these movies without talking about
Civil War. Yeah,
I mean, really, it's pretty simple because he just builds a connection with Iron Man in that movie. That's his main.
And here's the thing. I think that mentorship and like sort of like apprenticeship dynamic is really overemphasized. A lot of people, like, they really it's not in the movie as much as you think.
Yeah, like it really is only some of the stuff kind of with
background shit.
He scolds him like once or twice, just being like, "All right, we'll get your money up, not your funny up." Like early on in the movie, the fairy scene happens, and he says, "You're not responsible," takes it away. And then he figures shit out himself. And the major dramatic question is, can he do it? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do not think that is a problem for this movie. My problem with this is that they do it again with the next movie.
Yes.
Because the next movie has the same exact question. But whatever.
Vulture's great.
Vulture's the best
Michael Keaton
original MCU Spider-Man villain.
Yeah. He knocks out the park.
He's very good.
Like the tension when they're driving to Homecoming, and then the green light that, the green traffic light when he figures it out, and he's like,
"That's a great scene. That scene's so fun."
Yeah, and Peter's like, "Gulp," Then when they get to the school, he pulls the blicky out on him.
It's like, all right, son. Again, speaking more further on like the dynamic of like a father and Spider-Man. A love interest father versus Spider-Man dynamic, but this time the villain is the father.
Yeah,
I think the Vulture in this movie is so fantastic.
Yeah,
so good that it makes me so mad that Mysterio sucks so much ass. IMO. but we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Well,
we gotta hold the rails on that movie for a while.
But a lot of the things is because this movie gets so much shit, I don't think the problems people have with it are a problem in this one.
Yes.
I think it's
problems
a big deal
with the trilogy as a whole.
A lot of the characterization issues of him being like so dependent. The lesson learned is to be more independent and figure stuff out yourself and be your own man in this one. And he does it. And the low stakes does not matter in this one, I don't think, because if it's like a really early adventure and it's not like it's super duper low stakes like for a Spider-Man story. It's like, do I get the girl or do I save the day? That's like most Spider-Man stories.
Yeah.
It's just the difference is it's homecoming instead of just like a date.
Yeah.
Or an office party or something. It's really fundamentally such a similar Spider-Man story that people refuse to look past because of like the fact that Iron Man is there. And I understand that it is a very radically different approach to the character. It is not a great adaptation.
No.
If you primarily want your Spider-Man movies to be direct adaptations, I understand you not liking this movie or this whole trilogy. Because it's really not a good adaptation. It's 100% true. It's not very good. But I think it holds the spirit of the character in this one very strongly. And it does have his moments where he does learn, like, he may not say, oh, well, Uncle Ben said with great power comes great responsibility. But he even says, like,
he figures it out.
This is a still very mature thing for him to say. I said earlier, when you have the powers that I do, and something bad happens, it's your fault because if you could have stopped it. And while it may not be the same famous quote, fundamentally that's the same thesis.
Yeah, it's the same. It has
it's a bit
same,
wordier.
Like, you know,
it's a bit wordier, but
not as good
thesis.
T-shirt material, but it's good.
It's not good T-shirt material because he just set it off the dome, and it's not what his uncle's dying words to him and stuff like that. That was like that was written in like 4 words or less. Like, it was him just off the dome, just being like, listen, man, I have to do this because of, like, I can.
I could see that on a meme in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this movie is ugly, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh my god.
It's
unfortunately,
so flat.
This movie is so ugly.
Like, but...
An issue that does not get fixed.
No. But, this movie also has, like, a lot of the bones that I like about Spider-Man, a lot of the basic things where, he is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You see him, helping her out around the neighborhood. He does that flip for that guy, whatever. Like, it's a little goofy and corny.
Yo, Spider-Man, do a flip!
Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip! But, like, he's this, he's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Seeing him try to swing around, like, different burrows and stuff, not being able to swing when there's all these trees around, like... It's a lot of fun, kind of low stakes energy to him. Like this
You're
is a
watching
young
a
Spider-Man.
kid.
He's figuring shit out.
This is the first Spider-Man that's a kid.
Yeah, like he feels like a kid.
Really a kid.
Yeah,
this is the first Spider-Man who actually feels like the age he's supposed to be.
Yeah, he looks the age. He feels the age. Like it feels right for what they're trying to do with the character. And yeah, everything that we said about his arc, his development. He has that oh god, what issue is it? Where he lifts all the heavy machinery off of him.
That's great.
If this be my destiny, he lifts all that off of him. He's like, I am Spider-Man.
It's a good scene in the movie. The problem is, it's just the next movie forgets about that.
This is not the first movie's fault. This is not the
first movie's, which is my point exactly. I think a lot of the issues attributed to this movie really just come from the fact that the next movie just really is the same movie again.
To be honest, B.
I think B.
B tier.
I enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's very fun. I think most of the character writing doesn't have any actual huge flaws. The motivations make sense. It's well paced. The action scenes are fun. My only serious issue is it's just a little ugly.
Yeah,
it's an MCU movie, so it looks trash.
And the issue with it also being an MCU movie is the amount of dangling like, "Whoa, it's
This
Matt
is in the
Gargan,
MCU.
it's the Scorpion, whoa,
them
it's
to
Aaron
never bring
Davis,
up
played by
again.
Childish Gambino, he's the
Oh,
Prowler."
it's the Vulture. I sure can't wait to see him in Morbius post-credit scene.
Dude,
Man,
look, it's
they
the
really should have
Tinkerer and
just.
Shocker and like all these little things, which
Mhm.
do add up. It is cool. Like I like seeing
Yeah.
Shocker there, but he's so forgettable. He doesn't have a costume. Throw a mask
Mhm.
on him. Wham.
Hey,
Yeah.
There you go. It's
I'm
Shocker.
okay with Shocker in the movie. He's pretty funny.
Since we
Yeah,
commented on all the
There's two
suits,
Shockers. One gets
Yeah, that's
vaporized
actually
by
true.
Vulture, and
That's
then
the best
second
Shocker.
one just goes, "All right, I guess
Yes,
I'll
I
just
guess
pick up
Shocker
these
now."
gauntlets."
since
I
we
guess I'm
commented
Shocker now.
on the previous suits, how do we feel about the actual? So we've already talked about how the CGI for Tom Holland's Spider-Man is always horrible.
Dude,
It's always
the
really
thing
bad.
that
But
I
as far as the
hate-
actual suit,
I like the suit. It's not bad. I'm
I
not
think
a
it's
fan of like
good.
the weird black lines that go over like the blue and like cut into the shoulder bits.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Raimi suit's
But
better.
like,
It kind of
Chasm
always.
2 suit is better.
Yeah.
I
Chasm
think the
2 suit
Chasm-
clears.
I think the TASM 2 suit is probably the best live action suit.
Absolutely.
And like my issue with a lot of MCU costumes is whenever they post their concept art, there's always like 3 suits that are way better.
Now,
There's
He
always
was on set wearing a suit that was better.
yeah.
Yeah, and in Civil War, his suit was just so much better.
That being said, I think the suit is utilized pretty well because they lean into
The
the
eyes are
techie
cool.
side, which is a
Yeah.
preference thing. This is
The
a flavor
eyes
thing.
moving is cool.
This is
The
when
AI companion wasn't necessarily
great.
required,
But you know, you got like a little
but-
spider drone. That's,
but it gives him an excuse to talk to himself, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which I think is the actual purpose, is so that he can talk aloud like he does in the comics.
Yeah.
yeah.
But my main question that would be, why can't he just do it anyway? Because it's not like the Marvel movies take themselves that seriously.
I
Yeah.
think it's okay.
Why can't he just do it?
I think it's okay because, you know, this is what they wanted. They wanted Spider-Man to feel a little more techie this time around. To
Mhm.
distinct
yeah,
it. It makes it a little different.
yeah, to kind of fit the mold of what the MCU was going and like with going forward, you know,
That being
having this techie younger Spider-Man.
and I don't think they go too far in this movie either. I think most of it's
No.
relatively interesting.
It's just Infinity War onward.
yes.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it's all
like
the
the
Iron Spider
baseline
shit that
having
goes too
kill
far.
mode is funny as
Iron
shit.
Spider suit is horrible.
Yeah,
I
Iron
hate
Spider
that suit.
bad.
That's where we're
but
getting into.
That pretty much sums up all I have to say.
It's
about
a very
Homecoming.
simple
I think
movie.
It's a
It's
lot
fun.
of shit unnecessarily. It's really at its core definitely a Spider-Man story, even if a couple details are
Yeah.
different. If you really, really, really care about it being like a good direct adaptation, which is
Yeah.
completely fair. Don't let me write that off necessarily just because I don't agree. Because of the thing is, like, you know, like I said earlier, I was gaslit into thinking that the villains from the Raimi trilogy were like that in the comics and that he had organic webs because of the movies do command a lot of what people
Of
perceive the
public-
characters for. But I still don't think that necessarily as a movie, it's an unfaithful adaptation to the character itself. I think the emotional core still very much is there. But yeah, but it's still a B tier. It's not as good thematically as like Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I still think the first one is a better origin story.
So,
Yeah,
the next movie, I have some bad news. I'm a bad host.
I hate this movie so much.
I fucking forgot everything about it, and I didn't have time to watch it.
I hate this movie.
I physically
Far
can't
from-
remember anything that happened in the movie.
Far From Home's so odd because like they do so much shit that's like they try to pass off Mysterio, which
Mhm.
if like you could look at Mysterio no matter what and be like, yeah, that guy's a bad guy.
You can Google search him.
Literally, you Google search him, you're like, oh, okay, and that ruins the entire twist of the movie. Obviously, even if you know any little thing about Spider-Man, you're like,
If
oh,
you
okay,
watched
yeah, he's gonna
any
go bad.
Spider-Man cartoon when you were like
Any
5,
Spider-Man piece of
You're
media,
like, oh, he's bad.
it would have been way
Yeah.
better if he just wasn't. He was just
Yeah.
actually a good person.
And then they try to pull the "I'm from another Earth" Spider-Man. I'm Mysterio. I'm here to help. And then he's just another guy that was scorned by Iron Man.
Yeah, I kind of wish.
Which I think
they just repeat a lot of the same themes from
it's the
Homecoming.
exact same thing. So the reason why I don't have an issue with the Vulture being tied to Iron Man is because of, first off,
it's a very indirect tie.
He was pissed for a very good reason.
Yeah.
It was a good setup for the character to get him where he needed to be. And he wasn't necessarily like... The reason why I think it's way worse in this movie is because of Mysterio's motivation for really hating Peter is Tony Stark made fun of me one time.
Yeah.
And he's dead, and you're the next best thing, so I'm going to ruin your life.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to steal these sunglasses from you.
Lame motivation. When in the first one, he's like, listen... My beef is with Iron Man. My beef is not with you, the Vulture was saying.
Just don't get in my way.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
You're fine. I have no problem with you. Yeah. Which is why it's okay, because if they built an animosity for each other based on Peter's own actions.
Yeah, and even at the
Mysterio,
end...
it is not built off of Peter's actions at all.
Yeah. Yeah, in Homecoming... Vulture even gains this respect for Peter, even though he knows his identity. Like, Michael Mando, Scorpion walks over when they're in prison and just goes, "Hey man, I heard you know who Spider-Man is." And then Vulture's like, "Oh, I don't know."
Maybe I do, maybe I don't.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Hey,
I'm the Vulture. What can I say?
I'm a Vulture. But like in Far From Home, there's such nothing conflicts as well. Like, oh, I need to go exploring Europe and because I'm on this field trip.
I really want to explore Europe because I really want to do it so bad, and it's like...
this is where I'm from.
And it's like, listen, this low-stakes plot made a lot more sense in the first one, when relatively the stakes of the villain were a lot lower. But in this, it's like, do you go on a fun field trip, or does the Earth explode?
Yeah, literally. And like, it's such a selfish thing for Peter to do, especially after what he was supposed to learn in Homecoming. He was supposed to have learned that already, but no, he has to repeat the same thing. And also, the one thing I do like is the development of him and MJ's relationship in this movie. I think them building upon what they kind of laid the groundwork for in Homecoming is pretty fun. But even then, like... There's not enough there to really keep you tied to the movie. And Jake Gyllenhaal, he tries his best.
That scene, though, that scene where when he gives him the glasses, and then he goes, "Surprise, audience! I'm the bad guy, and this is my plan." I almost walked out of the theater.
Dude, it's such
a horribly written scene that I almost can't stand that it made it into the movie.
And like, I don't hate Far From Home. I think it's just like fine. I think it's just kind of a fun romp if you want to turn your brain off and see Spider-Man in like Venice. But like, it's not great.
It has no emotional weight to it other than the MJ relationship, which is supposed to be like, oh, I got to fight off this other kid who's hotter than me, subtly, because of MJ might get with him or whatever. And it's like, dude, first off, he's so clearly not her type if you know her at all as a character. So clearly not who she would go with. I find, the one element of this is, oh, Iron Man is dead and I'm dealing with that. But it comes at the cost of him feeling like he regressed as a character a ton.
Yeah.
Nick Fury isn't even actually in this movie.
Yeah, it's a scroll.
It's a scroll that doesn't matter. So Nick Fury doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not really Nick Fury.
Movie's post-credit scene is like, oh, we might do some secret invasion stuff,
and they still haven't gotten to it. They only just now recently, within the past year, made the mini-series for it, and it sucked ass, and no one liked it.
This is by far the most
forgettable. It's unclear if they're going any further with it.
Spider-Man movie, I think. There's just nothing in
up
there.
Until the end.
It's just forgettable. I mean, the end I do remember loosely, and how it's kind of just stupid.
It reveals Spider-Man's identity. Like you have this
gets doxxed.
So that's cool.
Yeah, he does get doxxed. I think that's an interesting concept.
Just how it's done doesn't make sense.
It's just that the consequences of that action that is not explored in this movie. No. So it's really just a cool ending. Is all this movie has. Mysterio is a horrible villain. I think he might be my least out of all of these villains. I think he actually might be my least favorite, even out of the TASM ones.
Yeah,
I think he's so weak as a character.
Yeah, great design. I like how he looks.
He's a great design. This movie's even uglier though.
Yeah, dude,
this movie's even uglier somehow.
And the way they like shove in these pseudo like
guys,
Hydro Man and
Molten Man and Sandman is in this movie, guys.
Yeah, it's like, check out these 3 elemental creatures.
They're actually made of CGI.
They're actually made of CGI drones. Mysterio is so brilliant.
It's a cool adaptation of the abilities, but it's not a cool adaptation of the character. I think he's the worst villain in all of the cinematic movies. He has almost no actual emotional drive to the narrative itself. The glasses element is so stupid, by the way. Hey, here's some glasses that if you lose and someone picks up, they control like satellites that could shoot missiles down from above. Worst possible way. Like, there's no security checks or backups or anything like that. There's no deactivation protocol or anything. It's just whoever got the glasses can nuke Europe if they want.
Yeah,
it's so bad. I think this is like such a
Tony would have
written
that.
movie. It's not shot well.
There's cool stuff.
The only thing that carries it through is it's got Tom Holland's heart in the role.
Yeah,
Tom Holland tries.
Like Tom Holland tries in every single one.
And MJ is pretty good in it, but she's not. Good. Again, if you're on the adaptation train, you probably hate that MJ.
Yeah,
because it's literally just a completely. She's really just ultimate Gwen Stacy.
Yeah,
different person.
Yeah, she really is just a different person, but I don't know, man.
I think this movie's a D. I really don't like this movie.
I think it's a D. I'm gonna be real. I think it's a D.
I hate this movie. Because here's the thing. The writing is not as... The reason Homecoming ranks as high is because of the narrative at its core is still a really good Spider-Man story. The villain is still really, like, interesting. It's really engaging. The narrative of this one is not as engaging. And it doesn't have, like, good visuals or any, like, good, solid filmmaking to back it up. It's just a bad movie.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean,
think it goes in D.
Right.
I like. Let's be real. We can throw.
I mean, Shaymin came in not remembering anything.
Well, Angelo, what do you think? Do you think it's a C?
Yeah.
I know you don't think it's a B.
I don't think it's a D. I think it's a very low C, just because I do find some parts of it fun. Yeah, I like the set pieces. I like.
You can rank it above TASM too.
It took me a week before I forgot it.
I think it is better than TASM 2, just in regards of like. I don't know, I feel like there's just more stuff I could just generally have fun with compared to TASM 2, where everything's just kind of a slog to get through.
Again, the actual core of watching Tom Holland talk and exist as Peter Parker.
And they go, but he goes through the same arc again. It was like, well,
I agree.
Gone. Can I be an independent hero?
The one redeeming quality is that, but Homecoming does that
Thanos
already.
You fought Thanos in space.
Yeah, like Far From Home and TASM 2 have like similar vibes in terms of like Peter kind of just goes through
regresses as a character.
And he regresses. I think that's the thing. So I think putting TASM 2 and Far From Home on the same level is fair, because they both.
I think that's my hottest take. I think that's my hottest.
No,
take,
if we're gonna have a hot take, we should have this
Far
one.
From Home.
What's worse?
All right.
So No Way Home.
No Way Home. Now I wanted to refresh myself with this, but Disney Plus didn't have it for some reason.
Whoa.
When I went on, because of I really enjoyed it in theaters, but from what I've heard a lot of people say is when you remove yourself from that theater experience and watch it again, it's really not all that.
It's awkward. It's really awkward because whenever Toby or Andrew shows up, or like they do a.
Wouldn't it be pretty sick if they just really killed those guys?
Holy shit!
Well, they did.
We're recording.
I'm saying we could have spared them.
we could have turned them into like. I want a movie where you're allowed to kill some actors.
There's nothing there.
No Way Home.
Yes. All right, let's talk about No Way Home.
Talk about it after our. What was it, Liam?
48-hour lunch break.
Yes, welcome back.
Our 48-hour lunch break. My camera My camera got better.
I'm a different person now.
It was sick.
I didn't even get the cord I needed for my other cameras. Like, it just took a nap. My webcam took a nap and got better.
My setup is completely different now. Like,
because I ended up being so fucking tired last night, which is why we aren't doing this circa like last night
or the day before.
Yeah. All right. No Way Home.
No Way Home. No, so I haven't seen this since theaters.
Yeah. The conclusion of the, I guess, starting MCU Spider-Man trilogy. You know, there's rumors about Spider-Man 4, whatever. That's definitely going to happen at some point. But I saw this movie twice. It's good.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's
Go ahead, Shaymin.
You know how Spider-Man as a franchise is now? It's the Spider-Man movie franchise movie. It's made specifically to wrap up all these things.
Yeah.
It kind of gives me like if the contract does not get figured out, this is a clean break point.
Yeah.
But it leaves us with a good place to start if the contract does.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think the plot of this movie is very fun. I mean, I remember leading up to the movie, there were a lot of rumors about like, a Kraven and Scorpion focus, like villains hunting after Spider-Man, you know, because he's on the run, following the murder, quote unquote, of Mysterio in Far From Home and the reveal of Peter's identity to the world. But honestly, it feels very fun. It feels very comic booky. You get your Doctor Strange pop in. You get your two lead Ditko characters teaming up. You know, that's a classic. I always love seeing those two together. And I think a lot of the chemistry works for the whole supporting cast. And we didn't really touch too much upon MJ or Aunt May or Happy Hogan or Ned yet. And
how could I not be Ned posting right now?
You're right. The CEO of sex.
I forgot Ned was in the first movie.
Ned?
I like Ned.
I like Ned.
He's fun.
He's just kind of a guy.
He's not. They took Genki from Miles and just went here.
That's Ned now.
That's Ned now.
Yeah,
Peter,
absolutely.
you get Ned.
In a lot of regards, which
he used to have Harry.
We were talking earlier about inspirations of like Ultimate Spider-Man on the Amazing trilogy, and like whether or not the Raimi trilogy is like the Lee and Ditko and stuff like that. A lot of people make the comparisons that MCU Spider-Man is just ripping Miles Morales' comic, which is an assessment that I can mostly agree with.
Yeah, generally.
If you ever wonder what comic book... Because here's the thing, we're going to talk about it in a second. Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse and Miles Morales, the comic book character, are not the same thing. And if you want to know what Miles Morales, the comic book character, is like, it's secretly Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah. We'll touch upon Ultimate Comics Miles Morales later. But yeah, no, I entirely agree with that sentiment that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is like the most hodgepodge like interpretation of Spider-Man. Like it really does falter in the adaptation regard because
absolutely,
I'm a hater. I'm a hater on the one line in this movie where it takes up to this point. It basically like insinuates, oh yeah, there was no Uncle Ben, because it literally like Aunt May, spoilers, she dies, rip, and she goes, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility.
Why do you keep doing it like that?
Because
Peter.
Because Peter. No, but the fact that it takes 3 movies to get that lesson for Peter, which I feel like he already kind of knew, like as a
again, he said in the first one just the same quote but with more words.
Yeah, like
the powers that I have. When something bad happens, it's your fault. Like it's the same basic thesis, so he already knew.
He already knew.
Yeah, it feels like same thing with Far From Home. It feels like we're retreading ground that we already should have covered or already should have known. And for Peter to be this far into his superhero thing, wearing the costume, like, for me, adaptation wise, that irks me. That bugs me a lot.
Also, in universe, bro is like closer to a veteran than most of the characters we have right now.
Yeah.
At this point, he's actually one of them. As hard as it is to believe, MCU Spider-Man is one of the senior members of the MCU right now.
Yeah. And the thing is like, the thing that I like about this interpretation of Peter is that, and I thought about it earlier today, is he's a Spider-Man that seemed to have been directly influenced by all the other superhero stuff going on around him. I mean, obviously the Iron Man stuff, but like, I don't know who retconned it or if Kevin Feige said just outright, but in Iron Man 2, when there's the kid that's like pointing at the big robot, I think they doubled down and were like, yeah, that's Peter Parker.
Yeah, that was Peter the whole time. That's what his name is in the script, guys. Don't read it though.
Yeah. But like, the little stuff like that where Peter sees these heroes around him that save the day. So when he gets his powers, instead of Uncle Ben being the catalyst, he just kind of goes, all these other superpowered guys
that's just the day. What you do, isn't it?
Let me just do it, and I think that's an interesting. Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to think about this version of Peter.
I never did think of it that way,
but
that is pretty interesting. But however,
the fact
does
that
come
it takes
at the
3
cost,
movies to create a full Spider-Man arc, like.
The fact that it takes 3 movies, so the thing that this movie ultimately ends with, and I'd say this is supposed to be the thesis for every ending, is, okay, now he's the Spider-Man that you know and love from the comics. And they do that with every movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, see, he overcame the Vulture and said, be this my destiny. He's now the Spider-Man you know and love. He learns how to be more responsible and now can control his Peter tingle. He's literally the Spider-Man that you know from the comics. And then this one goes, he's so poor and no one loves him. He's just like the Spider-Man from the comics.
Literally, like, they keep layering it on and on and on. And then now it's like, okay, now we have a full package to work with. Also, I didn't know this. I read this recently. Apparently, they told Tom Holland to make his voice more high-pitched for No Way Home, just to be consistent with Homecoming, where he's like, oh boy, Mr. Stark, whoa!
Oh yeah, because now he's 25.
Dude, he's a full-grown man. And
how old is Tom Holland?
I think he's 27 or something. He's almost 30. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
He's 46,
I can quote you on that because you're right on the money.
Oh yeah. But dude, yeah, he's a fully grown-ass man.
He is now the age that every other actor was when they took up this role.
Yeah, literally. Which is great. But I guess more to focus on the plot of this movie. Peter's identity has been revealed.
Doxxed.
He got doxxed hard as hell. And then he's like, but I want to go to college with my friends. And then, so, everyone's kind of looking at him differently. Wham, he goes to Doctor Strange. Shit goes wrong, multiverse stuff. All the villains from the other movie show up. And honestly, I like the inclusion of all of them. And their redesigns are pretty cool.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Electro, ding... Sandman is probably the same, and the CGI isn't very good.
Yeah.
Since they couldn't get the actor for more than 1 second, he's in sand form the whole movie. I don't even fucking remember if they changed the lizard. I think they did.
They made him a little more green.
They made him less slimy.
Scaly. Yeah, he's less slimy, more scaly.
I do like this Green Goblin significantly more as far as design. It's a lot better. And Doc Ock, I don't know, I prefer his original drip.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
I'm not angry at his drip, though.
No, I'm not angry at it.
I'm angry that the effects somehow look worse than the movie that came out in 2004.
No,
that's
true.
The effects for the tentacles looked better back when I was 2 years old.
Those tentacles were just real, dude.
I know.
Yeah.
You telling me Disney doesn't have the money to do that shit?
They can't just make that. They can't just make the real fucking tentacles.
They were like, bro.
They can't get the brain implants and shit.
Yeah, just hook it up to character actor Alfred Molina. Just
if any character, I mean, if any studio could do that, it would be Disney.
They have the money.
Dude, making real fucking supervillains.
Green Goblin glider.
Dude, they're gonna make Elon Musk a Green Goblin outfit and just let him loose.
Just let him out onto the street.
Let him go. See what happens.
Dude, but, I couldn't.
Dude, I like the introduction scenes for a lot of the villains though. I mean, Lizard's just kind of like he's there when they get to like the weird basement. Like he's just there. It's just like, I caught this guy in the sewers. I'm Doctor Strange, and it's like, Doctor Strange, you got your shit rocked by the lizard, bro? Are you serious? He's like, this one gave me some trouble. This one gave me some.
Doctor Strange post the first movie has been like hard nerfed.
Dude, yeah, right?
He's kind of sucks now.
Like, in his first movie, he's really dope. And then in Thor Ragnarok, when he shows up for a split second, he's like all weird and mystical. He's got the yellow gloves. You're like, oh, wow, this is a cool direction they're taking with him. After that,
that's it.
Yeah. All the cool stuff he does after Infinity War, he's done.
He doesn't even try to get the Sorcerer Supreme title back, Lamau.
No, he's just chilling.
He's like, you know what, Wong can have that.
He's like, you know what, Wong, sure.
Wong can have that.
He just kind of is like
Spider-Man.
Maybe depressed. He's just not doing anything with his life.
Yeah.
It feels like his character's not finished.
I enjoy the setup of this movie, and I also... So we were talking about like whether or not like the stakes of a narrative really pair well with like what they're going for, and I think this one's going for a little bit more of a high stake sort of thing, and I think the element of like, oh, I want to go to school and not publicly be Spider-Man all the time is a lot more of an understandable thing for him to wrestle with when faced with like, and also he doesn't, at first he does the wrong thing but doesn't think that, you know, there'll be horrible consequences for that action. Then, you know, does the responsible fucking thing. So I don't hate his arc as much as the last one. I do enjoy this one.
I think,
despite the fact that it is fundamentally very similar, I think it differentiates itself a little bit by being a little bit of a logical next step.
Yeah, and it leaves us with a lot of great like cues as well. Whenever Peter's in school or out in public or whatever, like people giving him those glances. Some people being like, "Yo, he's Spider-Man." Other people are like, "Ooh, you know, like I don't like that Spider guy. He killed Mysterio. Yuck." J. Jonah Jameson is pretty fun.
They couldn't find another guy to do it. They're just like, there's no guy as good as this.
Yeah,
we just gotta get this
just come back.
J.K. Simmons always says yes.
The premise of this movie is that we can't find better actors than the ones that were cast like 10 years ago, so we're just gonna bring them back, guys.
No matter where J. Jonah Jameson is, J.K. Simmons is there, like unironically. I think he was in fucking Superhero Squad.
Yeah, because if he's the GOAT.
Yeah, like J.K. Simmons does so much voice acting. Like
sympathize.
I love J.K. Simmons, and he once again, as always with his J. Jonah Jameson, just super fun performance. Like Jonah doesn't really add too much to the story here, like
except for that one goat scene.
Yeah,
best scene in the movie. The one where you don't know the one best goat scene. It's the one where immediately after Aunt May dies.
Oh. That's right.
The one immediately after, where he's
that scene is great. Yeah,
that's probably IMO the best scene in the movie.
That's true. That's very true.
If you ignore the fact that the CG surrounding him is hideous.
Yeah.
During it, that the effects are so bad.
I think another thing that we mentioned with the other Spider-Man movies that's really prevalent with this one is a good emotional core. You know, because you build up all the stuff of like Peter doesn't want to kill these bad guys, which is a very Spider-Man thing. He's like, I don't want to kill these guys. I want to help them.
The reason the character regression problem I don't think is as strong here is because of that it's very clear, despite the fact that he's not exactly doing the best things at all times.
He's trying to do the good
absolutely thing. Trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And not, like, bitching about it, per se. He's just bitching about the part that he got doxxed, which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is so fair.
Yeah. And the relationships that he builds with the villains, kind of this little bit of like a repertoire back and forth with like Electro, not as much Sandman, Lizard, but like Electro, Doc Ock, and Green Goblin, like especially between him and Norman, like that build, that, and then actually one thing I wanted to mention was the spider sense and how it's used in this movie.
So good. That's the other
it's
goat
really
scene. That's
good.
The second goat scene. That's one neat trick that sits you up there. I was like, oh fuck.
Great scene.
This movie is, the more I think about it, while there are a lot of scenes that are just like, oh
yeah, they really stand out. Also a golf clap for Charlie Cox, Daredevil.
Yep.
I love cameos. I love cameos.
That was a good cameo.
It is a great cameo, and it doesn't feel like awkwardly out of place. Like it's just like he lawyered up.
This would happen
it feels awkwardly out of place as a lot of the pacing of this movie does, where they have their clap moments.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
They're woo, like iCarly introduction when the celebrity is on.
Yeah.
That is the.
It feels like this movie was shot in front of a live studio audience.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much cut scenes and content from this movie too that I think could have really helped, especially later in the final battle as well. But jumping from, talking about that great scene of, Norman's betrayal of Peter, and then how he suplexes him through 5 stories and then kills his aunt. When the other Spider-Man, when the other Spider-Man get introduced, like it feels very fun. We get to see them play their characters again, and they all like have this great moment in the lab together where they just like bounce back and forth. What was it? MJ like calls out to Peter, and all 3 of them turn around. Like there's a lot of fun little details in this movie that I feel like make it just a fun watch. And I think that's the most important thing about this movie is like, it's better than Far From Home for sure. I don't know if it's my favorite of the MCU trilogy, but it really is just like a super fun movie. Like this and Homecoming, I could just throw on.
Let me think for a second about this then. So I'm going to talk about a couple other things too.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to the approach.
Mm-hmm.
Now the pros are that all of the villains in this movie are really fucking good.
Yeah.
That Norman Osborn in particular in this movie is probably somehow better than he was in the first movie. Because in this movie, he is terrifying sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, dude is so unironically scary and intimidating.
He beats the shit out of Spider-Man several times.
He's not even acting.
This dude is so much more, I'll use the word intimidating. Like, intimidating and imposing on it. Instead of being, like, a little bit of, like, a cartoony, like, how we were talking about in the first one. He's more of just, like, a cartoon guy going, doing funny faces. He is, like...
He's that, but he kills you.
Yeah, he's that, but like he's
that, but he
suplexes you through the building.
Yeah, he can like, fucking back up his cartoon shit.
Which, for the record, Willem Dafoe did the stunts for that.
Yes, yeah. Willem Dafoe was like,
I told you, he just did that.
Not do the stunts.
He just did that.
He just did that to Tom Holland.
And I do emotionally like the Aunt May's death scene. But I do agree. On the flip side, what this leads to is a lot of just like, first off, adaptation bras.
Yeah.
Because this movie sets in stone a lot more of the lore behind this character.
Mm-hmm.
And his like background. And also, this movie is, love it or hate it, super reliant on a bunch of outside of the MCU characters.
Yeah.
Not only just for the narrative to function, but for a lot of the appeal to function. While I still agree that like Tom Holland is really good in this movie and his emotional core is good,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the appeal of this movie and why people like it is because of my old characters came back, and that it does kind of take away a little bit from like
From
Tom Holland's legacy.
Yeah.
Because of now the Sinister Six or Sinister Five, because of I don't think Doc Ock
the Ferocious Five.
The Ferocious Five. The super badass five.
Hold on 1 second. Like, I've been thinking about this for a while. Why the fuck didn't they have Vulture in the movie?
There's concept art.
He's busy in Morbius.
Dude, there's concept art.
Like, it just makes perfect narrative sense.
With Vulture.
Yeah.
I think Sony was playing hardball with Marvel and was like, well, we need to do
put him in Morbius.
To be fair, how does he tie into a multiverse narrative like that?
He ties perfectly into
like
Peter.
He can't be sent home. He is home.
Yeah.
That's
that's his verse.
I think in some of the concept art or early, I guess, plot, he was supposed to help Peter come up with some of the tech that they use to help quote unquote cure the villains later, but Doc Ock just very easily filled that role. So I think not only Sony playing hardball, but also like relevance to the plot. I don't think Vulture could have really done much,
I think it could have weakened the movie.
It could have, because it would have just felt like one extra piece that
I hate saying added more villains.
Yeah.
We need more characters. We need more characters.
I like MJ a lot in this movie. I think she kind of starts developing more and more of a personality throughout these movies, and more. She
gets better with each one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where she's a character.
Ned just kind of like if MJ goes up, Ned's just kind of like straight across.
Ned is at the exact perfect point he needs to be at the entire trilogy. Ned is so perfect. He's at the ceiling.
He's a great side character. He's
at the ceiling. He can't go any further up.
Only become Hobgoblin next. That's where they're gonna go with it. Dude, I can't wait.
So funny. I want to see him as Hobgoblin. He's so funny.
That's not gonna be the movie.
But yeah, a lot of this movie is reliant on like stuff outside of their own lore. Mm-hmm. And now it also like calls in it like, okay, so now Tom Holland's just not gonna have like these characters in his verse.
Yeah, he's never gonna have a Kurt Connors lizard, because then when
they technically already had a Sandman, but that one was fake.
Yeah, and like now that we put these villains in front of Peter, now when he meets a Kurt Connors in the main MCU or he's
just gonna kick his ass.
Now he's just gonna be like, are you guys? Are you gonna lizard? Are you gonna lizard out Kurt Connors? And Kurt's like, how do you know?
No, I'm not gonna lizard out. But I was doing research on lizard growing limbs.
Don't you lizard on me?
He's like, yeah, bud, you can't do that shit.
Yeah, so it does kind of stifle what Peter can do in the future against some more notable villains. But now you could do more, I guess, lesser known Spider-Man villains that are still pretty fun, like Big Wheel.
I'm glad you said it.
No, but in all sincerity, I was thinking like Chameleon or something would be fun for later on, but so on and so forth.
I feel like Chameleon would have been pretty fun for a hypothetical movie where they deal with the consequences of Far From Home's ending, not with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's not the universe we live in.
Yeah.
The action sequences are Spider-Man's most fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really, really, really stepped up the choreography with this one.
I mean, not to keep calling back to it, but the entire fight in like the apartment building or whatever
with good.
With Green Goblin, then Lizard showing up, just being a hater, just like throwing Peter
for
back
no
into
reason.
Like he didn't need to do that. He was already escaping. He's just like, yeah, get fucked.
Here's the thing about that whole thing, though, is I do think it's a little. It's not contrived for Green Goblin, but I feel like for all, especially Sandman.
Yeah.
Sandman what are you doing?
Yeah, Sandman's like, hey, I have no quarrel here, Spider-Man.
Oh, we're beating you up? Okay, we're beating you up. Like, just don't.
Yeah, Sandman, what are you doing?
Also, the framing device of if I send them back to their universe, they're gonna die because that's what happens is like not true.
Not applicable
for
to
Lizard or Sandman. Neither of them die in their movies. They both survive.
Andrew Garfield mentions that after Gwen died, he stopped holding back. He stopped pulling his punches.
He probably went into the Lizard's jail cell and kicked his ass.
He just went to Kirk Carson's like jail cell and just like punched his head off his shoulders. He's like, "Get fucked," and then just like left.
I have issues.
Dude, but I thought about it earlier today as well. I did a lot of thinking about this movie today. My headcanon, I think this would be fun, is like if after Gwen died, he was more so just referring to like going after Green Goblin, like Dane DeHaan, Harry Osborn, and like whooping his ass, because that's very similar to what Peter did in the comics, where like Gwen's death, he's all in a rage, and then he goes after Norman. I feel like it'd be cool if like he's just kind of referring to that, and then Dane DeHaan had his own like Willem Dafoe moment as the glider impaled him.
That's so true.
I think that's a cool take to have on it instead of him just going around murdering people. I think that's a little too grim.
Well, fortunately, they do kind of like not explicitly say what he means by that. I'm pretty sure.
And it leaves it up to interpretation, which is why I find that to be a pretty cool scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then Toby's just chilling.
Toby's just chilling. This movie, unfortunately, as well, another thing about I feel like they totally steal the scene from Tom Holland because they are so much more fun.
Yeah.
They are so much more fun with each other. And this movie retroactively made everyone think that Andrew Garfield is definitely the best Spider-Man because he's so good in this movie, and he is. This is his best time doing it. Yeah. So everyone's like, "See, he's always been good." It's like, no.
No, I hate that
Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, Amazing Spider-Man 2 isn't good because of he was good in No Way Home.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on No Way Home?
It's so hard because there are so many things that are like, I love the emotional core. I love some of the performances. I love the action. The CG is as bad as the rest of them. Mm-hmm. But I do agree that there are some points of the narrative that are just like not as strong as like Homecoming.
Yeah.
Some motivations get confused as it goes every time they have more than two villains.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Sandman and like I guess also Lizard is kind of a weird one because
Lizard didn't die.
Yeah, and
he can get sent back, no problem.
Yeah. Shaymin, any thoughts on No Way Home?
Sorry, there were like 8 fucking planes flying by at the same time.
Whoa.
Literally, all I heard was fucking plane noises. All right,
this one's hard to rank, but I'm thinking B under Homecoming.
No Way Home's a very interesting movie. It's again, it gives a lot. It's interesting for Tom Holland Spider-Man and the other ones. It's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just kind of comes down to there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and it's just such a in some areas just a little too confused. But
it's a glass cannon movie.
Yeah, I honestly, that's a great way to put it. Like, great impact. Like the first time you watch it, you're like, "Whoa!" Like you point at the screen, you're like, "There's the guy." But then every other time afterwards, you're like, all right, let's fast forward this a little bit. You're like, there's this long dramatic sting where you're supposed to be like, it's Andrew. It's Toby. I don't like Ned's like grandmother like giving Toby the fuck me eyes. Like that was odd. I felt like that was a weird cut. She's like, and then Toby's like, hee hee hee.
Toby's like, I'm old enough to reciprocate that.
Yeah.
I'm almost 60, I think.
I think.
Dude, excellent.
I don't know how old Tobey Maguire is. He's at least 50.
I think he's in his either closing in on 50 or early 50s.
He's like, no way, Grandma.
Dude, right again, 48.
Ayo. So
let's just say to the ending. Yeah, the ending is really good.
Yeah.
The ending's great. I love the final swing. Although it looks like he just kind of swings midair just in the same spot for a couple of seconds. He's like,
they finally committed to making a Spider-Man suit that doesn't look like dog shit. Just for them to probably not use it.
Dude, the suit's so good. Hold on.
Hold on. He's got to pull out the suit.
Hold on. It's so good.
I hope you come back as Spider-Man.
I had to get the Marvel Legends of it. Like, that's how good that suit is. I mean, look at it. It's just a John Romita Sr.
That's just Spider-Man.
Like, that's really it.
I was going to say, though, as far as figures go, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that that's from the end sequence of that movie because of it just looks like a normal Spider-Man.
It looks like Spider-Man.
It just looks like a normal Spider-Man figure. That's how close they got it. Can't wait for them to not use it.
No, they're not.
In Spider-Man 4, Devil's Reign.
It's going to be Iron Spider again.
Where Ant-Man and Daredevil are going to show up, and they're going to fight Kingpin.
Dude, so true.
Remove Ant-Man. Just Daredevil, Spider-Man. Make them fight Kingpin. That'd be a great movie.
No, I want Scott Lang. I want Scott Lang.
Dude,
they have to figure out something for him to do.
But not just the swing in the suit. As far as the ending, I think emotionally, like it hits very hard because if he makes probably the second biggest sacrifice other than dying, and some people would say that
it was just as impactful.
It's even worse. There's the quote like worse than dead, forgotten, or however it goes. And it's like literally.
I mean, like at the end, does not exist. At Aunt May's grave, Happy Hogan's there, and the past 3 movies we've had them interact and know each other, and Happy develop feelings for May, etc., etc. And at the end, it's just like, oh, so you knew May, and then Peter's like, yeah, she helped me out a lot, and it's just kind of this like bittersweet moment of he saved the day, but now he literally just has nothing.
But now you one more dayed yourself.
Yeah, and then also the scene with MJ and Ned in the coffee shop or whatever.
That's more where I was about to go to. I think that's such a really great scene, and him choosing like, you know what, like no, they're definitely better off without me. Like they finally, after an entire trilogy, got to the bit where it's like, okay, you literally can't get much more Spider-Man with your you're there now. Please stop doing movies building up to him being Spider-Man as we know and love him. He's there. We're finally there.
Yeah.
You think
literally the next movie he should be like either doing some sort of college-y things, like
I don't think
he should be a fucking adult. He should be an adult. That's just it.
In the next movie, MJ should be dating this guy named Paul. I think
no.
Guy named Ned.
I don't know what that's in reference to, but that's the recent run of Amazing Spider-Man where MJ got locked in this weird other dimension and married this guy named Paul.
And sticks with him.
And then sticks with him when she comes back to the main universe, and Peter and Paul have like this crazy fucking beef. Like it's a little absurd. It's a bit
really funny because of Paul is like the meme is like he's this ultimate like Chad who cucks Peter, but he's literally just some dude.
He's just some guy.
It's really funny. Yeah, so we gotta have Paul. Can I also just say it takes a lot of balls to make an adaptation of is One More Day the story where it gets is One More Day like the sequel to that? Because I know there's like a sequel.
Yeah, One More Day is the when Peter sells his marriage to Mephisto and gets his secret identity restored and yada yada. Yeah, they pull a One More Day.
It's pretty bold to take what is considered one of the worst Spider-Man stories of all time and go, we can make a movie out of that, and then doing way better. It's really it's really good.
That's because the reason for it makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a lot more valid this time.
Let us proceed forward.
Yeah.
Fucking
peak. At
least we've been quick with this. Yeah.
Fucking peak. S tier. Do we agree? We could discuss these, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
S tiers, yeah. Okay.
Specifically in that order, though, I must say.
Yes.
I agree.
1000% in that order.
Into the Spider-Verse is a movie that has no flaws. IMO.
It's literally like, if not perfect, like so close to perfect, any of the flaws are like negligible. Like I sincerely, I said I was a hater on No Way Home for like some of the adaptation inaccuracies. I am like a certified
this version of Miles Morales is better
of this movie. Like this Miles, so much better, so much more of a fun personality. And also the thing I noticed about Miles, rethinking on this movie, rewatching it, he's like just naturally seems to be a little bit more like altruistic and kind of like, if you compare him to an early Peter Parker where Peter's a dickhead, he's an asshole, and then has to learn his lesson, Miles is just generally like a better guy. He's just a good dude.
This Miles Morales Spider-Man might be my favorite Spider-Man just ever.
Yeah.
He's one of the strongest characters ever to be named Spider-Man. Yeah. IMO. He's got so much charisma on screen when he needs it, and is also a loser when he needs to be at the same time, but not like in the same like oh please don't bully
like Tobey Maguire way, where he gets rammed into a locker.
He's not wet noodle. He's just like awkward sometimes.
He's just like an dorky, awkward, like sometimes loner,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the
such
big
a stigma.
Like, he's such shut the fuck up. No, but he has like you said, so much charm, so much charisma. He's just such a great character to see on screen and to see interact. And when he gets his spider powers, that entire scene with the old, I guess his universe is Peter, blonde Peter, Chris Pine Peter.
Peter A.
Just all that stuff's so fun. This movie visually, gorgeous. Great use of color, great compositions, the action scenes flow, the editing techniques. Oh, police siren. Spider-Man's on his way to help. Liam, Spider-Man's about to sweep through your window right now.
Guys, look at Spider-Man.
And there's just somebody getting arrested.
Like pandemonium. There's a guy in a Spider-Man costume getting arrested. He's like, wait. wait. No, but fuck, where was I?
So you guys talk a little bit about the animation because of, for people unfamiliar with the format of this, because we didn't actually explain it. We cover 3 separate fields, like, as far as like our professional careers go. I'm going like in the film career, that's the direction I go. I'm an art student for it. I'm an art hoe, and I make movies.
Yeah, I'm a comic book guy. I draw comics. That's me.
Not in school anymore. He actually does it as a job.
Yeah.
I'm a game designer who has an infinite amount of time of school in front of me.
So these guys both studied animation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the perspective of which we all kind of look at these things at.
Which is why I was yapping so much with all the live action ones.
Dude, this movie...
Honestly, those movies are animated, but...
Most movies are like 65% CG, so you're on to something there.
Yeah. But like, Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, the little animation tricks that they do, like Miles being at 12 frames per second in the movie until he develops into being that full Spider-Man, and then running at 24 frames per second with everyone else. The technology they use, they developed a lot of just brand new stuff. The use of screen tone on like Spider-Man Noir to get that dotted black and white look. Like, what a gorgeous movie. What love for the comics and everything that came before it. This really is like, this movie and Across the Spider-Verse are like culminations of Spider-Man as a whole. And there's
so I actually have a slight point to make on that with like the differences between those two movies, but I'm going to get to that I think once we get to the second one. But I would like to say, from a writing perspective, this movie is essentially flawless.
Yeah,
it's all killer, no filler. Like everything there, I'd say
everything has a purpose.
The only things that's a little weak, if you have to have something to point to, is the other three like background character Spider-Men, Noir, Spider-Ham, and Penny Parker are not particularly well developed characters, but also
they're just fun.
Not every character is the main character of the movie, so it's really not that serious.
Such a great definitive arc too, that like, and also not only does he grow, but he helps. Him and Peter B. Parker help each other grow too, and there's this great mentor-student relationship there. And then Gwen's a super fun character in there too, and she kind of,
I'd say she is definitely more there, instead of to have her own arc in this one to be more like accessory to the arc of Miles, which is something that the next movie will change. She does have more of a definitive. I'd say in the next one, she's actually the one who has the clearest to follow arc.
Yeah.
Or at least cleanest telegraphed and cut off.
Kingpin's great.
Kingpin is so
great
good.
Villain.
He's huge.
He's so big.
He's fucking huge.
He's so big.
But I love Kingpin. I feel like just some of the other villain characters besides Kingpin, I guess like
Prowler.
And Prowler, yes, of course.
Yes.
Do not talk shit on Prowler by accident.
No.
I won't let you.
Yeah,
I won't let you.
Prowler's great. Like, this is probably my
like
favorite
Scorpion
adaptation of Aaron Davis Prowler.
How many other are there?
Cartoons and the Insomniac games, and they just kind of copied this one's homework.
I forgot.
They copy Spider-Verse's homework so hard.
Spider-Man.
Like,
they just did that in video game form.
Literally.
Yeah, and you know why? Because of this version of Miles Morales is so much better.
It's literally like
Aaron Davis in the Ultimate Comics sucks ass.
Yeah.
It doesn't look the same at all. Can I explain?
Yes.
The arc in the Miles Morales introductory comic is he is like a criminal.
Yeah.
He's a criminal. And what he does, instead of hunting Miles as part of some sort of hit, and then finding out and regretting and being like, oh no, my nephew, I could never kill him, I love him so much, and then dies, and it's really tragic, and it's his Uncle Ben moment. Instead, he's like, Miles, let's go commit crimes. And he tries to peer pressure him into being a supervillain.
Together we can rule this city,
and then
Spider-Man.
He tries to kill him, and then Norman Osborn's himself.
Yeah.
And kills himself on accident, and then Miles is like, I killed my uncle, which is not true. He killed himself. It was definitely his fault.
It's and I could understand what Bendis was trying to do, have that parallel between a Peter Parker type story and Norman Osborn Green Goblin-ish, kind of have that together we can rule this city, Spider-Man. And then
but also the movie just looks so much better. Works so much better.
The movie does it so much better. It's so much more of a satisfying,
emotionally resonant. Because
there's this build up.
Because of I feel bad for Aaron Davis dying, and it doesn't feel like one of those moments where it's just all right, well, he kind of had that coming. In the comic, I was just oh, well, he's a dick. I'm kind of glad he's dead. And I don't really, and Miles feels really bad about it, but I don't know. It doesn't hit as hard because of the relationship is not nearly as strong between those two characters because of that. So it doesn't feel as tragic. Yeah. Miles is a lot more of a fun character. He has a lot more personality in this movie than in the books. I think he's just So perfect. He's so perfect. The narrative is great. What's Up Danger scene is like one of the most triumphant movies in a movie ever.
Speaking of What's Up Danger, the score.
The score fantastic. Fantastic. Awesome. So good.
It's normal to fucking buy the soundtrack for this movie. Buy it separately. Like,
yeah, dude, not for Into the Spider-Verse, but for Across the Spider-Verse, I have the vinyl for it.
Did you do that for Avengers?
No!
Hell no.
No!
The only song I know from any Avengers movie is just their theme.
Soundgarden did a song for the movie.
I'm not just listening to that.
No, yeah. Like, I'm not sitting there vibing to the Avengers theme, but, like, to the Spider-Verse movie, like, soundtracks?
Yeah.
Even, like...
And without the cost, and it's not like, at cost of it being effective. It's effective and super listenable. It adds so much personality to the world and its environment. Like, it's so good. So good. Anyway, I would actually argue that Into the Spider-Verse should go right ahead of Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
I would argue that, too.
I would argue it's not just the best Spider-Man movie. It's just one of the best movies. It's just one of the best movies ever made.
It's a cornerstone of animation. Now we're starting to see the ramifications of this movie's existence. Like, with fucking Puss in Boots and shit.
The industry was not the same after this dropped.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you caught me, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's the same thing. They're all influenced off of this. They're playing around with like the FBS of characters. Now it's not all the same thing for 3D animation. We're taking elements of 2D animation.
The Disney models too. There are a lot of people tried to do like the Disney 3D modeling technique a lot of the time, or Illuminations, which is Illuminations art style.
Illuminations maxed out for as cheap as possible.
Mm-hmm. This introduced a new way. What if we made animated movies look so gorgeous again?
They
spend
a lot of time.
Brought back like a lot of style, a lot of great. It brings a lot.
It utilizes the medium.
No, it's super dynamic. It's super fun. It utilizes the medium to its fullest now, and we especially see that with our next one.
Yes,
Across the Spider-Verse. Ooh, segue!
Whoa, dude!
The creator of the Segway died.
Aww.
Because he rolled off the edge of a cliff on a Segway.
Dude, that sucks. This is so sad.
He was trying to test the
episode. I think I have to cry.
Why did he test the brakes on a fucking cliff?
Why would you? Why is the cliff? Why is the cliff necessary to that?
I know. And he's, you know what? R.I.P.
Why is he brake checking himself fatally? Like, you just didn't have to do that.
He did.
No, it's supposed to be that thing where like you rely on your product and stuff like that, but you only do that if you know it's gonna work. He obviously didn't.
He probably thought it was gonna work.
He didn't know though. He didn't know that it was gonna work.
Because it didn't work. Anyway, Across the Spider-Verse. This movie,
it's an incomplete package.
This movie, when I first watched it,
very much a part one. It's very
when
much
I watched this movie, my only problem with it is that the next one didn't immediately start playing after.
Yeah. It's the first half of a movie.
It's so good, but it isn't as good as the first one because it doesn't finish its narrative threads, which leaves it not being nearly as satisfying. And for the record, I do actually think, even when the movie came out, I did think the last 10 minutes of the movie were a little annoying.
Yeah,
because
it's kind of just setting up the next movie.
It dragged a little bit. Like, it was like,
look at this thing that's going to be in the next movie. Look at this thing that's going to be in the next movie. They could have cut like 10, they could have just not told us, and that could have been the setup. Of the next movie. I think the only thing I would have really kept. The only thing I would have really kept is the conclusion to Gwen Stacy's arc, because of obviously they needed to have someone's arc conclude in that movie, or else it would have been a lot worse.
Felt very empty.
And the scene where Miles meets other universe him, I think, is a really good just cut off point right there.
Yeah.
Just stop
I feel
right
like it does have a little extra fat at the end that they probably should have trimmed. And yeah, like you said, it would have made a really great opening to the next one. Like, have that ramp up where they're all teaming up and then title drop. And then we go into whatever we do next.
It's a very weird movie because Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse is like amazing, So they have the ability to create this fucking epic. How many is it? 3 movies or is it 2 still? I heard
for Spider-Verse.
There's only 2 out.
There's only 2 out, and they're making a third one.
They're making the third one.
I mean, I thought it was this movie, and there's 3 parts to this story. But I could just be
no. It's a two-parter. It's a two-parter.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad, honestly.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know how you would say that, quadrilogy.
A quadrilogy.
Yeah.
It's
a trilogy. It's a trilogy, and there's a first.
It's one movie and then a trilogy of connected movies after.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, but
standalone and a trilogy.
They do have the ability to make 2 whole fucking new movies where they can just do as much as they want with these characters.
Now, I will say one thing about that, though. They really couldn't as much as they thought they could.
Yeah.
They really couldn't as much as they thought they could. They got a little too bold in their britches, I think.
Yeah.
They So first off, they promised this movie. I'm pretty sure it said 2024 was going to come out after.
Yeah, the year after
we watch Across the Spider-Verse, which at the time, what I don't know about y'all, but I assumed
it should be out now.
Already mostly made the next movie, and that they worked on them at the same time, and that's why the team was so big, and that's why it was so hard because they were simultaneously making both. Nope, they didn't even start.
Yeah, they had
said, "Yeah, it's coming 2024." No.
Yeah, they had some storyboards and nothing was recorded yet.
That shit was not coming out 2024, and they knew that.
Yeah,
they knew that.
And already to produce Across the Spider-Verse, there was so much crunch time. There was so much overtime hours that artists spent just slaving away trying to make this movie work. And the movie works. I think it's a great film.
I think there would have been a lot more clamor if the movie sucked.
Yes, and I think my only main issue is what we kind of already touched upon with it feeling not like a complete conclusion to characters' arcs, and I feel that especially with 2099. I think Spider-Man 2099, I expected a lot more going in, and I was kind of disappointed.
So I'll say I don't like him as much as Kingpin, and I know that a lot of people do like him probably more, but the reason I don't is because of, I don't know, he's so unnecessary. Sometimes
he's very angry.
He's just putting so much in that it's like you could just everything could go your way if you just chilled the fuck out.
He causes a lot of the problems for himself.
He does. And I think that's an interesting character thing because Miguel O'Hara in the books is very hard-headed. He is much more easy to piss off than Peter Parker. They're not the same guy,
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But Miguel has this really interesting background to him, but it feels like Kingpin
not
again.
Touched upon as much.
It's not very touched upon. It's just Kingpin again. It's like I lost my kid.
It's hard to even say.
I lost my kid, and now I need to,
And then I tried to do what Kingpin did. I succeeded, and a universe exploded. And now everyone else has to live with the consequences of my stupid ass action.
I think it would have been more impactful if they just went there is no Nueva New York, or Nueva York, whatever it's called in 2099. There is none of that. His actions caused the destruction of his own world, and Spider Society's
That's true. He just fucked up some other ass world.
Yeah, another universe's Miguel O'Hara died, and then he's like, I could be a dad, and then just takes over this dude's life. So there is a sinister
and then
aspect
explodes
to Miguel,
his universe,
and then explodes his universe. So Miguel made a big oopsie, and he's trying very hard to,
prevent
he's
it
trying
from
very hard
again.
to prevent it from happening again.
Overcompensating.
He's
overcompensating,
sure.
And that is the point of the character.
To make amends. And I think that's something that separates him from Kingpin too, is that he's trying very hard to make amends instead of make things worse. But his attempts does make things worse. So there's that pull.
He just doesn't have to approach things the way he does. Especially, bro is going so crazy on Miles.
I think he needs a therapist.
Shit that's literally not his fault.
Yeah.
He's like, why did you intentionally become Spider-Man and fuck up the multiverse, you asshole? Like he had a choice in the matter whatsoever. Yeah. And as if he was the one who brought the spider over, and that he was making it sound like, oh, and the Collider incident's your fault because if Peter would have taken care of it, if you didn't show up and become Spider-Man. But also the reason the spider bit him and came to the universe in the first place was because of Peter had yet to stop the Collider anyway.
Yeah.
So like it's just none of it is his fault. He's so mean. Bro.
Yeah. I think that
you
is
should kill yourself.
I think that is kind of the point of 2099 as a character.
That's what makes him the villain of the movie.
Is he's an asshole.
He really he's just like he's bullying Miles for no fucking reason.
I love him. I do love him, but I do think he's so much more.
He's so huge too.
But I do think he's so much more ridiculous than Kingpin because of it.
Yeah,
it is just like Kingpin. First off, criminal, like overlord of crime.
Yeah.
Was never going to be a nice guy anyway. Was doing everything for selfish reasons. But Miguel, it's so funny. It's like, dude, just look in a mirror, dude. Just look at yourself. You're such an asshole.
I mean, like,
but I do love his presence in the narrative, though. Again, don't misconstrue this by me saying I think he's a bad villain or character. I think he's great. And I do like his added complexity, but also I just think he's so funny.
Yeah, it is funny to poke at for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, next and that his plan makes no sense
when you start looking at it like, oh, I need to make sure that these multiversal incursions don't happen.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make every single Spider-Man able to hop universes and affect reality however the fuck they want. It's like, that's the exact fucking thing I wouldn't have done. It's that exact thing.
And I think it is a case of like Miguel's taking on too much, and he is like going too hard in the paint. Like he's like overthinking it. He's doing too much.
You could just not do that. And everything. Like, and as far as like canon, we need to make sure canon events still happen. Then don't fucking bother them.
Yeah.
Don't tell them, and then they'll just happen.
Yeah, and I think it really does come from that complexity of Miguel's character, where he's like, he fucked up, so now he feels like he has to fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to more fuck ups and more.
He's got a fucking giant ass ego, dude.
And and then Gwen's arc in this movie is great. Her stuff with her dad, I love the style in her universe is like so good. Mwah. Such like chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So such fun stuff. And a character I didn't expect to like so much was
the goat?
Spider-Punk.
I'm so with you. When he first showed up, I was like, oh god, he's gonna be so annoying. And then every single scene after that, I slowly was like, actually, never mind. This is probably my favorite guy in the movie.
He fucking stole the show.
I literally he literally stole the show. Like I remember Shaymin and I left the theater and we were sitting in the car and I had a eureka moment of like, oh shit. Because I didn't really fully notice it in the movie just because so much was going on. But when he's walking through the Spider Society, just like yanking little techie bits off the wall or just picking shit up. And then at the end, when Gwen has her teleporter, like it's just all the shit that he just hot-wired together real quick and left for her.
Yeah, well, he knew what was about to go down and also was for it.
Yeah. No, he's so pumped.
True passion. He's like, I don't stand for this establishment that's definitely making things so much worse.
So I'm gonna fucking destroy it.
And works to destroy it. So actually, probably best. The counterpoint I'd say for the first movie being like, oh well, the side characters were just okay, but nothing. No, they don't need to be great. The counterpoint is the side characters in this one are so much better. So much better.
Yeah,
they're
even
way...
Spider-Man India. Like he's super fun, just super bubbly. Like that's the side of Spider-Man that like people initially see. And I feel like they all represent
the Spider-Man before anything bad happens to him.
Yeah, like super fun, energetic, bubbly. Going after the girl, saving the day. Like he's just happy-go-lucky, and I love that. It's such a great stark contrast from what we see in a lot of Spider-Man media, where Peter's all sad and upset and broken. You
and
know?
his life sucks
now, do you
already.
want to hear what I think is very interesting about how these two movies pair together?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say one of the main things about Into the Spider-Verse is Into the Spider-Verse is a celebration of Spider-Man as a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, full stop. It is like, dude, we love Spider-Man. We love every single thing about him, all of his different interpretations. We think he's great. And this movie is the butt. But how come we have all of these very diverse, different characters with all these different lives and stories to tell and do the same shit every time with them? And that's what the canon events are. This movie is a big commentary on the state of the franchise and how stagnant its storytelling has become. And despite the fact that we have all these different versions, we just run them through this same exact story structure.
Yeah, I mean, look at how we talked about the current Amazing Spider-Man run with Paul and all that shit. Like, they're just spinning their wheels. It's just shit that, like, we've seen time and time again. They've separated Peter and MJ so many times, and there's so many canon events that we see in the movie that, like, we've seen plenty of times. We've seen the death of Captain Stacy, you know, in comics, and
I actually do think it's a pretty funny one to pick, because that's one of the only canon events that, like, does not happen, like, super duper frequently.
Yeah. That's the one that they eventually proved that they could break.
Yeah.
Right? It's the one that they prove that, canon events don't need to happen. This is just all bullshit.
You guys just don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, like, you guys just don't understand fully what's happening. Like, Gwen leaves her universe after that whole shit with her dad, comes back. He retired from the Force, and her universe is still fine. He didn't have to die. He's not Captain Stacy anymore, and that's okay. You know?
Exactly.
And the Spot as well.
I like the Spot.
I think he's super fun. I think there needs to be more in the next movie to really kind of show that.
I feel like that's probably going to happen because
he's the main
probably
villain.
The main villain of that one, as opposed to Miguel was definitely going to have a major presence in the next one, but the Spot is definitely going to have more to him.
Yeah, I feel like Miguel's going to have his, like, redemption arc where he's like, maybe I was wrong. I'm Oscar Isaac.
Or maybe he doubles down.
And
maybe he doubles down. Yeah.
Back on what I was saying before, though.
Yeah,
this movie is like almost defying of the expectations of a traditional Spider-Man narrative. In particular, like, you know, where Miles says, like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. Is literally just them saying, like, we are no longer interested in following the story structure of Spider-Man, the character, because of it has become so stagnant.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes this movie super interesting as, like, a meta commentary on the franchise, and what makes me super curious to see what the next one has to say about that.
Yeah.
And, like, where they take this story, because of now they've officially, like, broken free. All right, we are done with canon events. We are done with repeating the same plot structure over and over and repeating the same characters over and over again. I want to see what they do. I'm so excited. It's not coming out in my lifetime. I'm never going to see this movie.
This movie's never coming out.
This movie's never coming out.
Man,
at least not fast
It's going to be like another, like, 3 or 4 years from now before we see it.
My guess is 26.
Yeah, I'm going to assume 2026, at the latest 2027.
The betrayal hurts in this movie so bad, because that's like it's serious breach of trust shit.
Yeah,
like, it's for real. So the next movie, very much, I hope they don't.
They could
just
drop
have
the ball.
Miles forgive them very quickly.
Yeah, no, like them just going like, yeah, Miles, your dad kind of needs to die. Like, that's fucked up.
And then we've been keeping it from you this whole time, and also we've been keeping the fact that you're a paranormal, like, not paranormal, like a paradoxical, like, anomaly. Yeah. And they're holding all that from him and refuse to tell him in the scene where it's like, okay, you guys have been betraying me this whole time.
Yeah, Miles has to double down hard.
Like, I really, really, really hope in the next movie they don't just go sorry and he goes okay. Because it's really not. It's really not. It's really not. Like,
no, it's not.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up. If that's like, I never want to see you for the rest of my life type shit.
Yeah. Like it's rough, and I think there's a lot of growth that happens, especially for Gwen, obviously, in this movie.
Gwen is the only one who has a character arc that is resolved in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And you could see the beginnings of Miles's new arc, and you see it kind of start reaching to a head, but we haven't had that like pop yet, where it reaches its climax.
It hasn't crescendoed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Beyond the Spider-Verse will hopefully give us. Hopefully they stick the landing, which, I mean, 2 for 2 so far. I'm not worried that they won't stick the landing.
I'm worried for the people working on it, not for the quality of the movie. The movie's probably going to be great.
The movie's probably going to be great.
Yeah, I hope nobody dies while animating it.
Yeah. I hope they give the workers more time to, actually see their families and not slave away at a drawing tablet for hours.
I hope they at least eat food. Well,
yeah, literally.
Fucked up.
So do we have any other thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse other than that? I feel like I've covered what I really like about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same.
Is it better or worse than Spider-Man 2?
Ooh, that's a good.
It's not a complete movie.
It's not, and I think it's hard to judge it on that.
Yeah. I'm hard pressed to say. Like, imagine rewatching it again, just by itself.
I have.
Yeah. And
it's hard. It is hard sometimes watching this movie and going like, well, I guess I gotta wait.
But that means, I mean, the cliffhanger is insanely effective, which is very difficult.
Yeah, like I remember us leaving the theater, Shaymin, and we're all just like, dude.
I was kind of tilted coming out of there. Yeah, I was pretty tilted.
We were all pretty pissed. We were like,
Jules and Ruben all came out of that theater yelling at each other how mad that there wasn't any more movie to watch.
Yeah. No post-credit scene either. It was just raw, just done.
Just done. But yeah, I can agree with the idea that since it's not really complete per se without its part 2, that we can leave it below Spider-Man 2. Shout out to the fact that there's no A tiers.
I feel tempted to bump Spider-Man 1 up.
I don't.
But that's just me.
I don't.
It's too old.
I love Spider-Man 1.
It is great.
I love the movie. That's just personal bias, just because
I think it's
I've watched it a gajillion times. I'm a Spider-Man 1 truther.
Are we gonna polish this up? Do we think Amazing Spider-Man's better or worse than Black Suit Spider-Man 3?
I think it's worse than Spider-Man.
I think it's worse purely because I think that the Spider-Man 3 is so fun and iconic.
Yeah.
I think maybe like on some level I enjoy the writing of Amazing Spider-Man a little more.
I think it's a little more incompetent.
I think that Spider-Man 3 is less good at what it's trying to do, but also so much more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel pretty solid with the placements on everything.
Yeah. So S tiers into the.
Anyway, make a new tier at the top for Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage.
Okay.
Probably the best.
Are
movie.
we even talking about Venom?
No, I just want to say real quick. I think the first Venom is just okay because you could tell it's literally 2 movies.
Can you make the background Venom
color?
It's
probably like a D tier. Yeah, I didn't watch Morbius.
Not a movie.
Morbius is shit. I regret seeing that movie in theaters. It's so bad. When he has a I'm always angry line.
I'm always Morbin.
I'm always the Incredible Hulk.
You know, like how the Hulk's like, you don't want to make me angry. It's like you want to like me when I'm hungry or some shit. You know, It's like shut the fuck up, Morbius. Jared Leto, go home. you're done.
Bro hasn't been in a good superhero movie to save his life.
Yeah, it's like he's batting like nothing but nothing. Like it's so bad.
He's swinging and missing. Anyway, Venom 2 is literally 2 movies pieced together. I think it's D tier, and I like Venom Let There Be Carnage slightly more because of it knows what it wants to be this time. It knows it wants to be a Saturday morning cartoon, but with occasional gore.
Do we like Venom 2 more than Far From Home?
That's kind of rough. I'm not sure. I like it more than TASM 2. That's for certain.
Yeah.
All right. Venoms are certified in the D tier.
Man.
Certified worst one. And you know what? I actually agree
I hope
with that.
Spider-Man 4 has
think
Venom.
It's worse than Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think Venom's really bad.
I can't believe people fucking like that movie.
Morbin.
Morbin. Scoot that all the way down.
But yeah, that's been our
that's all the Spider-Man movies.
That's been all our Spider-Man movie tier lists.
And Venom and Morbius.
And Venom. Yay. Well, they're technically Spider-Man adjacent movies.
Next month we'll watch Madam Web and then come back and
I'm not watching that movie. I'm not watching that movie.
No, but Dakota Johnson wants you to watch it twice because you're not gonna watch it once. So you're gonna watch it twice.
I can't encourage. You can't encourage them to keep making these movies.
No, don't watch.
Just don't. If you're watching this right now, don't
take
watch
one thing out of this. Don't watch Madam Web. Don't watch Madam Web.
For the good of cinema, as an art form, don't watch Madam Web. You got to stop encouraging these assholes to keep making movies that literally not a single person asked for.
Yeah, but I will be there for Craven.
But I will watch Madam Web.
I will watch Madam Web and Craven.
I want to watch
no matter what we say here.
Than Madam Web.
I'm not fucking watching any of this shit, dude.
Dude, the only thing Sony's getting me into theaters for is Venom 3.
That's true.
Not even gonna lie. The only one I would ever consider seeing is Venom 3.
Fucking God.
Which is happening. Anyway, that's, I think, been our Super Shenanigans variety 3 hours.
Yeah. Big turbo episode to start off with. Next time we'll have our book club segment.
We didn't even mention the book club segment, I don't think.
No, we did at the start.
We did? Oh, yeah, whoops.
Tune in for the book club at the end. Make sure we put a little spoiler in there that there's no fucking book club.
There's no book club.
There's no book club.
So yeah, book club's gonna happen next time, and we're just gonna talk about stuff that we're reading, watching, playing, etc.
And the next one's most likely going to be a lot lighter of a topic as far as content. There was a lot to go through here. We will probably pick a little bit of a smaller scale something. But thank you so much for joining us. I've been Liam. I've been
Angelo.
And I've been Shaymin.
I think I might be Frank now.
Are you Paul?
I think that's who I am.
I think I'm my Spider Sona now, guys. This tier list has changed something inside of me.
I'm literally Spider Podcaster.
You think Paul is a self-insert?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Zeb Wells wanted to. Zeb Wells was like, "I want to fuck Mary Jane."
Dude, who doesn't for real?
Mary Jane.
I'm Paul.
I'm Paul.
All
right,
we're wrapping up.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.
In 2 weeks.
Because
it's shot for you to clap to,
Yeah.
So saying there, Andrew.
Ooh, internet lag. This is bad for the recording.